Thanks for what you do with your podcast and all the rest. You're doing a great job. Hope everybody keeps tuning in. You get a lot of good info, a lot of insights, understandings of how to get strong, how to stay strong, how to use your strength.
You do a great job, dude. You make things better than they are in real life, I think.
If you don't follow Massenomics, y'all do it. Social media, website, everything.
Massenomics.
Welcome back, everyone, to this super special Massenomics Podcast episode 286, the 5.5-year anniversary of the Massenomics Podcast. Because I just like all the different anniversaries where I'm like a 6-year-old. I'm also counting halves now.
It's at the point where we can make almost every month some type of special number.
Yep. We'll have 300 coming soon. Mm-hmm. That's probably the next one. Then that's just in 14 weeks from now. So that'll be here before we know
14
it, won't it?
short weeks, practically tomorrow.
Yep, practically tomorrow. My name's Tanner.
And my name is Tommy.
We are the lifting podcast about nothing. We've got another banger set up for this one. A much long-awaited podcast guest for this one. Yes, highly anticipated. Now that we know a little bit about this episode, I want to see if you guys know about something else. Do you know what's in your supplements?
I was wondering if you were going to ask me.
Yeah, if you use Fusion Sports Performance, you always will know. Fusion SP prides itself on being fully transparent, never using proprietary blends, and always providing its customers with top-quality products. Speaking of their products, they have the Super Soldier pre-workout, the Mad Titan High Stim pre-workout. Both have proven ingredients at their clinical doses to maximize performance, increase muscular endurance, improve focus, and give you that much sought-after pump. They also have Healing Factor post-workout. It combines BCAAs with a full serving of creatine monohydrate and other great ingredients to help maximize your efforts in the gym, build muscle, and recover fast. Last but of course not least, they have the Fusion's Whey Protein Isolate. Not only does it taste great, which it does, it also has 27 grams of protein per scoop, zero fat, and low or no carbs depending on the flavor. Speaking of flavors... chocolate of some sort. Speaking of, most orders are shipped within one business day, and every Fusion Sports Performance product comes fully backed with a 30-day money-back guarantee. Go to fusionsp.net and use our code MASS, M-A-S-S, all caps. It'll save you a massive 20% on your entire order. You can order anything from fusionsp.net and save 20% with MASS. Hell of a deal.
Tanner, speaking of flavors, I'm actually curious. Are you a sushi guy? Do you eat sushi?
No, I mean... I've had it before.
Like if
I don't
someone
seek
said,
it out hard.
If you're in a group and someone said we're going to a sushi restaurant, would you be like, no, my night's ruined, or would you?
No, I would be like, all right, well, I'm down for.
You'd order some rolls.
I what I would do is I hope I go with my wife and I say which one of these is like,
and she'll
the
say,
most
I'll order
like
for us.
yeah, like what? Because I've had some before that I really don't like, and I've had some that's okay. I don't like fish all that much.
Yeah.
But I'm down to try it, and I know it's one of those things I know is supposed to be good, so I'm always willing to be like, I know people think this is good. So I'm willing to try it.
Is it me that's the problem?
Yeah, right. That's kind of where I'm at on. I'm always willing to try it, but all in all, I still am yet to love it. Mm-hmm. What do you think?
I like sushi. I'm not the person that's, oh my, some people freak out like it's the greatest thing that ever happened to them. But I like it. We had it tonight before we podcasted. And it'd been
bought some from the gas station.
Yeah, it was about, they were going to say, we're going to throw it away or you can have it. And I said, oh, no, I'm just kidding. But yeah, I had some sushi tonight, and I was thinking, I don't know if I've ever heard Tanner's opinion on sushi. I know how Massenomics athlete extraordinaire James Strickland feels about sushi. He does a lot of all-you-can-eat sushi. He can put it down.
Funny coincidence. Last time I ate sushi that I remember of, I was in Kansas City.
Seriously?
Yep. Last time I had sushi, I was in Kansas City.
Well, you go to Kansas City.
You go to Kansas City
a lot, though, right, Tanner?
Yeah, that's right. It's like every other. We were just talking about it, though. It's really not that far. It's kind of surprising.
It is.
That is relative to what we think is not that
far. For our
far.
part of the country, it's not that far.
Right,
What do we say? It's about 8 hours?
Yeah, it's an 8-hour drive.
Which the only other really places of interest are like far western South Dakota or
I suppose you can get to Denver and...
it's like 12.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But speaking of Kansas City, we are going there.
Yeah.
By
the time you listen to this, we will have already been there, even, I guess.
Or if you're listening, we're on our way back, maybe even.
That's right.
If you're one of those quick people.
That's true.
So I'm pretty pumped to go. It's going to be a lot of fun.
It's going to be
We've
way
already
fun.
sort of talked about this, but
we did say we were going to talk about it.
But yeah,
too,
but
right?
now it is getting really close. So it's starting to feel like, ooh, like that feeling when you're about to go on a little trip.
Yeah, tomorrow we've got to be packed because the next morning we're on the road.
Hitting the dusty trail.
The trailer looks pretty badass, I'll tell you that much.
Ooh, yeah. I haven't seen it in person yet, but
It's badass.
The video looked really good.
I'm enjoying parking it in front of my house so people have to drive by and just gaze
really
upon it.
turning heads.
And they're like, what does that mean now?
Yeah, what's going on?
I didn't understand it on a billboard. Now I don't understand it on a trailer either.
They took it off a billboard and put it on a trailer. What's going on here?
I still don't get it.
Yep, it's all about the mass confusion.
That's why we're called Massenomics.
So, Tanner, I'm trying to think what order we want to do this in.
Well, we got a few.
I'll let you pick the next.
Okay.
Tanner, the next move is yours. Choose wisely.
I'll do this one because it's probably fairly quick. There was the log press world record was broken. This is our big lift segment. It was Iron Bibby. Now,
which I don't think that probably surprises anyone.
It's 229 kilograms, 505 pounds, beating Z's old long-standing record that several people have been trying to break for a while. So it has been.
What was
broken
Z's
now.
Actually?
I think it was like 501. I don't know if
okay.
it's 228 or.
But it did have a 5 in front of it.
I think so.
Okay.
I think so. But Iron Baby now has it at 505 pounds, 229 kilograms, and he's a big man.
He's a very large
something.
man.
So that was probably long overdue, but now he does have the axle and the log, both of those records. So hard to say anyone's better at overhead pressing than that guy.
It's kind of, that's staking your claim there.
Yeah. So that's about all I had on that.
Okay.
It was at a Giants live event in Glasgow, Scotland.
Is that like they do some like in the.
They do a lot more in the like
UK,
Great yeah.
England.
England.
I never know.
Yeah.
Do you say
Not
UK,
Scotland.
England, Great Britain? What
Right.
is the one you say? I have no idea.
I think Scotland is also a part of Great Britain. And the UK.
Or the UK. Are those interchangeable? No, I feel like Great Britain has to be. But what's the difference between Great Britain and England?
We've talked about this
Have we?
numbers of times, and even maybe we've clarified it at times.
We probably
but
have.
No matter how many times it's explained, I
doesn't stick.
I won't really get it.
Doesn't stick. It's probably like when people try to be like, "Oh, are they from North Dakota or South Dakota?" It's one of those. I don't know what the difference is, and
it's
the same thing.
What were the other things we're going to talk about? You said you had something, and then we also have some Highland
I was going to
Games
say
discussion
you were being an athlete here recently.
I competed in my 5th Highland Games.
That's not something a lot of people can say.
No, I did the math on it. I've done. Now I'm kind of forgetting. I think I've done 5 Highland Games, 11 strongman competitions, and 5 powerlifting.
You've done 11 strongman competitions?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, because I did the 3 Massenomics showdowns. I did the South Dakota State Fair Strongest Man 6 years in a row.
I forget about that one.
And then I did one in Rapid City and one in Sioux Falls.
Yep. I remember
11.
the rapid one. That was the one you tore your hands up, wasn't it?
Yes.
Okay.
Pulling
I forget
ambulance in the 100-degree blacktop.
I forget about the Sioux Falls one, and I forget about the State Fair ones.
Yeah.
Okay.
The State Fair I did 6 years in a row.
God, that does not seem like that was that long. Wow.
Fun fact: do you know who has won the South Dakota State Fair Strongest Man competition the most times?
You?
No.
Really?
Well, not outright.
Oh.
It's a tie between myself and do you know who else?
Tyler.
We have
both 3.
Both won it 3 times. So the first year I did it, I got second. I got beat by a guy that he won the first 2 years.
Okay.
The second, we only showed up to it the second year, so he won the year before that and the year I went. So he won twice. Then I won 3 in a row, and then Tyler won 3 in a row. So over the course of that 8 years, there was only 3
3 champions,
3 winners.
That's funny.
And then I think it went on for 1 or 2 more years after we quit doing it, and somebody else won. But
okay,
it's
do you know? Was there one this year?
Nope.
No.
Was
there one last year?
It ended after an 11 or 12 year run.
Okay,
it's over.
It's a pretty long running contest, though.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I hadn't heard much about it the last. I didn't know if I quit paying attention or if it wasn't popping up.
Or a combination.
Yeah. Okay.
No, but so I did the Northeast South Dakota Celtic Fair and Highland Games at Richmond Lake.
And this was the 5th one.
This was the 5th time
I did for
it.
sure 2. I'm trying to think if I did 3 of them. And I couldn't tell you for sure.
And the last year I did was 2018, and nobody else did it.
Yeah.
Nobody else of us did it that year. The year
I
Then I think
probably only did 2. I
you
think
probably
I did, 2.
did it in 2015 and 2016, if I
Really?
was to
Is it
guess.
is that far back?
Because I did it one. Oh yeah. Because I think I did 14, 15, 16, 18, and 21.
Wow. Those years
So
seem
you were
so
15,
long ago.
You were 15 and 16.
Okay.
Because of the first year, I didn't really do it with anyone. So, so anyways, this competition, which you're well versed on it as well.
Yeah, it's a little less formal than your
Yeah.
standard competition. Is probably the first thing that'll.
Yes. Just some funny takeaways. Always there's always these same one-liners that get said every single time. Like, this is the most fun you can have with your
Clothes
on.
It's like
Heard that, of course.
Yeah, like we sit and wait for it, wait for it,
Yeah,
wait for it.
Yeah.
Here it comes. Okay, yeah.
And then another anecdote I have from doing these Highland Games, what I've noticed over the years is there's a lot of people that do it, that even travel to some of these, that don't really lift.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that's fine. I'm not criticizing them for not lifting, but what they do is they don't really lift. And then as someone that doesn't really lift, they'll give out lifting advice.
Oh,
And it's like, we live in a gym. It's like, because I'll hear these things like, yeah, and if you want to get better, it's good to maybe start getting in the gym a couple months before you're competing. Do your bench presses, and
I feel like I even remember someone saying something about push-ups, like, "Oh, make sure
Right.
you're getting your push-ups
Right.
in
Yes.
leading up to the competition."
There's people handing out like 1940s training advice at Highland Games competitions. Like yes, of course you're better if you're stronger. Like, obviously.
This is almost as close as you can get to being a direct strength sport.
Yes.
I mean, it basically is a strength sport, though.
So that was I just kind of laugh at it. I don't get defensive about it or anything.
Or make a scene.
No, but I mean, that's a funny thing I've noticed over the years.
For anyone that spends any amount of time in a gym to hear
Yeah.
those comments.
Yeah. We got to represent the 8-Bit Highland Games tees this year, myself and Ryan.
I heard those went over pretty well.
Big Ryan and Big Brian, both from Aberdeen, both were rocking theirs as well.
Brian, postal
Yep.
carrier Brian?
Yep.
Okay.
Our man on the inside.
Yep. Gotta have that inside guy.
Yep. And then otherwise, I hit a PR in like every single
Did you
event.
really?
Absolutely no idea why. Actually, I shouldn't say that. All I could dig up was my numbers from 2018. I did better on every event than what I did in 2018. I don't know if those are actually technically my
You
best.
can't
or not,
imagine they're significantly better
No.
or worse than any of your ones before that, though.
No, I don't think so.
They should be in the ballpark.
And I don't know why I would have done better. I did get a few good pointers, but every year someone gives you a couple pointers. It's hard to implement very much
I was
of
going to
that.
say,
So
getting the pointers is much different than putting them into action.
exactly. What would happen though is every attempt, almost on everything, I would do better on each subsequent attempt, just because that constitutes my practice.
Yeah, that's what I'd say about like, okay, you can some of the events you can come in whenever you want. It's like, well, I kind of have to come in early because I need reps.
Like the weight over bar is always my best
You can
one.
sit it out as long
But
as you want.
I've got to come in early, and like what I told the guy, I'm like, this is my practice.
Mm-hmm.
That's my best event though, and
That's probably is the one that requires just the most actual strength.
I
too.
think so because it's a 56-pound one-armed overhead toss. It's funny. There's a website. It's like it's called NASGA, North American Strongman Games Association, I think, and it's hilarious. It's like if open powerlifting was made in 1999, and for the sport of Highland Games.
That doesn't surprise me.
It is crazy.
So
you can see where you rank for like. I could look up my 2018 results and like you can see like where my numbers this year would rank for everyone in 2021. And like in my worst events, the weights for distance, out of all amateurs,
very technical events.
Yes, out of all amateurs that have competed this year, like there's about 1,000, I think. I'd be like 500th on the weights for distance. And then maybe my next worst events were like the hammers, and I'd be like 300th.
Yep.
And then after that, the sheaf toss is about 150th maybe, because I'm pretty decent at that one. Then the stones this year, I did really well on the stones,
Did ya?
way better than I have before. And that put me about 100th-ish, maybe 100 to 150th. But the weight over bar, I didn't even know this at the time. I was really, really close to getting the 15-foot one. All 3 times, I just kept hitting it on the way up. I just needed to stand a little farther out, but I
just
I
don't know that at the time.
Right.
Yeah,
If I would have got that, that's 25th.
But also the line between the top 5 and the rest of the 20.
Oh, absolutely.
Huge,
There's feet and the even just the top 2 or 3, so there's some
But
huge
just
ones
to
in
even
there.
say you're in that area is funny to say.
And it's funny because it's we don't ever practice, literally the last time I did any of those things was when I did it in 2018.
Yes.
And it just makes me think there'd be more people that are, but that I do.
There's
But there
gotta be
again,
some-
I think that particular event does really rely on strength quite a bit.
It does, and being tall doesn't hurt either.
Yeah, that's a good point
A guy
too.
that's
yes,
over 6 foot is gonna probably naturally have a little more
Over
success
a
with it than
5'8"
a guy
guy.
that's 5'5".
yeah, for sure. Even a strong guy that's 5'5", that's going to be a much tougher event.
I want to continue this conversation, Tanner, but before we go too far, we're going to hear a quick word here.
Oh, excellent.
From our friends at the Strength Co.
Ooh.
Grant Brogy was born in the late 80s, nearly 2 decades after Buddy Capps began lifting. In the late 90s, Grant's brother Jordan bought him the New Encyclopedia of Modern Bodybuilding by Arnold Schwarzenegger, and Grant's love for weightlifting began. In 2001, Grant joined the local YMCA and began training with weights. In 2009, Grant discovered the book Starting Strength, and in 2012, as a lieutenant in the Marine Corps, he began teaching Marines this method. In 2017, Grant opened his first gym in Costa Mesa, California, and the Strength Co. was born. In 2020, during a major iron shortage, Grant sought to bring back quality manufacturing of Olympic barbell plates to America. His innovation, adaptation, and can-do attitude brought about the greatest plates made in decades. The plates were accurate, anti-fragile, and instantly became the go-to plates of hundreds of lifters at Massenomics Gym. If you would like to get a set of your own Strength Co. plates, you can go to thestrengthco.com.
I just went to those earlier today.
I'm going to them at noon
Sucked me in
tomorrow,
again.
and I'm very excited for
Noon
it.
crew.
Very excited for it.
Do we need to drink any beverages?
We
That's
should.
the thing.
Okay. Well, all right. We're putting the Highland Games on a long hiatus,
yeah,
I guess.
that's fine.
Tanner, we're gonna
come back to it in 3 years.
We're
when
gonna
we
do a what's in the can. So, do you have that blindfold still or not?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna need you to suit up over there,
Okay. Barney Stinson, suit up.
just like that. All right, Tanner's getting suited. All right, he has the proper uniform on.
All right. This Massenomics blindfold can be purchased on Massenomics.com.
People have been buying those lately
It's
too.
only $13. It's a steal for a nice blindfold.
Okay, Tanner, this is
Do I need to hold my hand
a
out?
very
with this?
special edition because it's a what's in the cup.
Ooh.
So this is kind of at the bottom of the cup here.
Okay.
So you're gonna have to do a little tipping
Oh,
before
okay.
it gets
I see
to
what
you.
you're saying.
Yeah. So when it's kind of tough to drink out of a cup blindfolded, but
Oh, I know what it is.
I think you know what this is.
I know what it is. Of had I, this not be something we just talked about, I wouldn't know what it is. But
Yeah.
I would say this is. If I was to guess right, just judging by the body of it and
The mouthfeel.
the overall feel, this feels a lot like the state drink of Rhode Island.
Wow.
Coffee milk.
You even got the geography right on it. And
Let me look.
It is in fact coffee milk.
It is coffee milk. Let me take another shot of this now.
This I had to remind myself. I knew I wanted us to follow up on this. Big Matt sent us this.
Yeah.
Was it last weekend we had it?
Yeah, last week.
And I'm thinking I got to brew up a pot of coffee before we record at night. Until I realize, oh no, it's just milk with
and
just
the syrup.
This is the syrup. I like how the first two ingredients are the first ingredient, high fructose corn syrup. The second ingredient, corn syrup. Corn syrup in there twice.
Yeah.
But it's kind of tastes like
I like milk, so it's gonna taste good to me.
It's kind of like milk with just a little bit of coffee flavoring in there, right?
Yeah. I mean, and I like milk and I like coffee.
Yeah.
So
So
you know what would
that's
go
it.
good with this? A nice slice of za.
A hot pizza
Pepperoni
pie.
za. I do like this though. It's good. I mean, I don't know
Yeah.
if it's worthy of being a drink for an entire state, but
It's an oddly specific drink. I actually got a little scared, Tanner. I went up and, my boy needs his milk, and he needs his bottle at like 6:30 in the morning.
Yep.
He needs that milk, and there was enough for us to do this, and then
just enough.
yeah, we got to leave the house. He has one glass of milk waiting for him tomorrow morning, and then he's gonna need we're gonna need
A refill.
We're gonna need a refill. So
Gonna have to head out to the cow out back.
get to milking. So coffee milk.
I give it the 3.5
It's
stars.
cool
That's-
beans,
yeah.
and I'd give it 3.5.
Yeah, I give it the 3.5 seal of approval. I wouldn't.
It's,
I just like regular milk, I guess. So
Yeah.
I don't know that I like
the market for milk additives is somewhat low that I would ever consider. What are your options? Chocolate syrup,
Quick.
and quick, yeah, powder.
Did you ever have Nesquik?
I was never a chocolate milk guy.
Oh, I like chocolate milk.
I was always just a straight up regular milk.
I mean, I like regular milk better too.
Yeah.
But for under the certain scenario, I do like chocolate milk too.
What about the psychos that would do strawberry milk?
No, I don't know why that's
Never.
a thing.
No, that was
shouldn't
not
be a
cool with me
thing.
either.
No,
I didn't play that game.
that's vile. I wouldn't even want that with a slice of pizza.
There are limits
There's my
to what we
limit,
can
yes.
consume with pizza.
Yes, not strawberry milk. Is that really around anymore?
I don't know. Is it?
Yeah, it shouldn't be.
No, I can't imagine it is. People had to have figured it out since then.
Yes. Pretty good though. Thank you, Big Matt.
Mm-hmm. If anyone else has any delightful state drinks they'd like to share with us,
Yeah.
we'll gladly take them.
We'll run the game.
I wonder what our state drink is. Wouldn't that be funny if it was sparkling water?
If it was a Pamplemousse LaCroix. I feel like it's not.
It was right under our nose this whole time, and we never knew.
Yeah. I suppose someone else already claimed Busch Light, so it's probably not that.
Yeah. Let's see if we can even find.
Lord Calvert.
Yeah, that might be it. South Dakota State drink. Milk.
Ah! State
Wow.
food, pizza.
That kind of surprised. I figured a different state
Well,
would
wouldn't
have that.
Wisconsin or
That's-
well, I mean, I suppose maybe more
Oh.
than one can claim it.
Here's a perfect article. The list of U.S. state beverages. Ohio was first to designate tomato juice. If you have your first pick,
Red
I'd say
beers.
that's maybe a bad call to make your first
Yeah.
pick on.
Yeah, I'd be like, and for the number one pick of the
Okay.
draft, we take
This-
tomato juice.
This takes the shine off it a little bit. The most popular choice for state beverage
Is
designation is milk,
yeah.
with 22 out of 30 entries.
Ah.
22 out of 30 entities, 28 states and 2 territories with official.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, there's okay.
Yeah.
Rhode Island chose coffee flavored milk. So
Yeah.
I guess, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see if we can find anything crazy here. Alabama has whiskey,
Nice.
lemonades, milks, orange juice. Maine has Moxie.
I like a good orange juiced.
Yeah. Massachusetts has cranberry juice. Nebraska has, well, milk's the state beverage, but then they have a state soft drink, which is Kool-Aid. I don't know if I'd consider Kool-Aid a soft drink, but
No, absolutely not. I
Rhode
wouldn't
Island-
consider it relevant anymore in 2020. I don't
No,
think people
no,
have
no.
Kool-Aid.
South Carolina has tea and
Ah.
milk. And Virginia has George Washington's rye whiskey.
Obviously.
See, they're looking at ones that have state beverages, state hospitality beverages, state spirits. So those are actually,
yeah.
Puerto Rico has pina coladas. That's pretty cool.
Pina colada. I have to say that every time we say pina coladas. That's a power thirst reference, like 2005 YouTube.
So, Tanner, we need to revisit our Highland Games
That's
conversation.
enough of Highland Games anyways. Unless you got something else.
The one thing I was going to say, the most memorable part for me for my last Highland Games was weight for distance. I believe I threw the heavyweight farther than I threw the lighter weight.
That doesn't make a lot of sense.
Makes
but
no
that is
sense.
possible,
I think it was one of those things where the technique really started clicking with me because,
that could actually make sense now that you say
but
that.
it
if
still
you do-
kind of
yeah.
doesn't make sense
Right.
because there is a difference there. But I believe there was a little bit of coaching that went on.
Yeah.
And I think we did the lightweight first. And then by the time we got to the heavyweight,
It started to click a little
the heavyweight kind of makes you slow down anyways. And the form has to take over a little more.
I'm pretty sure if I did a Highland Games competition the week after I just did a Highland Games competition,
You just
all my
crush.
numbers would just go up like 10% just because it's like, oh yeah, I know it. Like, oh yeah, this old thing, I'm like an expert at this now. I did it 3 times last
Yeah.
week.
yeah. Doubled my reps in
Right.
a 3-year period right now in this week.
So
Cool.
that's the Highland Games and caber toss. I guess I didn't say. we
How
did
did
the
that
caber
one go?
toss. Everyone in my group, whether they're C or B or A class, we all flipped the first one, and then the second one had broken, so we couldn't flip it. So we had to
That's
move.
kind
to
of
the,
a common occurrence.
Yeah, we had to move to the third one, which is a pretty. Nobody ended up flipping it on the entire day. You get 3 cracks at it, and I had 3. I picked it up great. I felt like really good about it, and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm gonna flip. Like I would have been super stoked to be the one person to
do it,
because there were some people there that were pretty good too. But I kept thinking I could get it, and I had a couple where it
Just
would
standing
get
up.
up there close, maybe at like 80 degrees or something, and I just could not flip it.
Yeah, it's not,
But
not an easy event.
No, so nobody could flip that one, but it is fun.
Yeah.
So that's the Highland Games. See you again, maybe in a couple years or something.
I wouldn't mind getting in on another one though.
It is. It's fun. It's
Were
way
you,
too long.
Were you sore the next day from
Yeah,
it?
my right trap and like below my trap
That throwing arm?
Yeah, yes,
Yeah.
gets really sore. I always like busting out the kilt and doing the full.
That was a new
full thing.
venue too, or a different venue
venue.
for us. Was it?
And it's pretty cool.
Was it nice out
There's
there?
almost less people, I think, because it's farther away, but it's really cool inside the trees where
Yeah.
it's where you got married.
Yep. Yeah.
We're in the same.
Yeah,
we're in that same. In that same area, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a cool spot.
Yeah. Sweet.
Yeah.
Do we?
We have another
something
can.
else over there?
Yeah. Do we want to do another can?
I'd like to have something to drink, so I'd love to do a can. Double beverage segment.
Yeah. This is a submission. So I don't know what's in here either. We're brown bagging it. This is a submission from someone, and it came with a card, unopened, as you can see.
Ooh.
Maybe you want the honors.
I can
Yeah.
do the honors. Okay, so we got a very nice peacock
Yeah.
envelope here. All right, let's get to the bottom of this.
Is it a matching peacock card?
It appears to be so. It is. It is in fact a matching peacock card with
the Rhode
gold
Island
foil.
State bird.
With gold foil. Massenomics, guys. Enclosed is my contribution to What's in the Can segment. It's a perfect. Did I ever tell you I'm maybe the world's worst handwriting reader? Like for real?
Yeah.
It's the perfect something from your only. Perfect something from your only girl listener, and for the. Tanner, read this. I can't read and it's good handwriting. I'm just.
Enclosed is my contribution to the What's in the Can segment. It's a perfect selection from your only girl listener and for the season. I sent 2 just in case shipping goes wrong because I can't imagine you'll want to.
Well, that's
Thanks for all you do, Big Jess.
awesome.
Yeah. So
That was kind of like Dumb and Dumber trying to read to her. Yeah, that's a tough
I'm
one.
concerned that she said, I can't imagine you'll want to.
Okay, so we're not looking yet then, huh?
No, we're brown bagging it.
still. Okay. Ooh, that's a very aromatic. Okay, what is that flavor?
Mine doesn't taste like much of anything.
It's more the scent, honestly. The very like herbally, like a potpourri kind of.
Wait, actually, let me taste that again. That's something on the. It almost tastes gingerbread, like gingerbread to me.
I think you're right. Yeah, it's got like that spicy kind of gingerbread.
Yeah, it's like that spice. Yeah. Nutmeg is that, or I don't know what's it. in gingerbread, but let's see.
It's an ugly. Oh, is it like a pumpkin spice? Oh, it is a pumpkin spice.
Yeah, right.
Of course. Yep.
So this is a pumpkin spice flavored sparkling water.
Ugly. We've had an uglies before.
We have
here.
Oh, okay. With other natural
I
flavors.
can't remember what flavor it was, but I don't know. This isn't terrible. I mean, I'll probably drink this whole thing, but
Oh yeah. Well, it's a pretty muted flavor, so I can.
This one really is one where it feels like for some reason I'm drinking it and then I'm just getting the smell afterwards.
Yeah. That tastes all right. I've had way worse stuff on here.
As a seasonal beverage, I think it works.
Yeah.
I think it does. I could give this a 3.5.
I'm on the 3 to 3.5.
Like that's on a seasonal scale though. Like in
That's
the middle
true.
of summer, I'm probably giving it a 2.5.
Right. I mean, I'm down with a 3.5, especially on a seasonal scale.
Yeah. Ugly pumpkin spice, not too shabby. I'm actually honestly surprised how good this actually works. In my head, it seems like it'd be a terrible idea, but
Now that I take another sip, I'm getting hints of cherry Coke.
they're gonna say pumpkin pie. I'm like, well, they're kind of the same.
No, cherry Coke. Are you noticing that at all?
Yeah. Okay. Yep. There it is.
That cherry Coke just hits different.
It does hit different. Do you want to read us one more ad?
Boy, howdy. Today's show is brought to you by Texas Power Bars. Buddy Caps first started lifting weights in the late 60s and began powerlifting in the mid 70s. At that time, he was working for Image Barbell building gym equipment. Around 1976, a local machine shop started making Olympic bars for them and calling it the Image Bar. In 1977, Image Barbell became Champion Barbell. It was then that Buddy started looking at the bars with an intent of changing them for the better. In 1979, Buddy bought his first lathe to begin addressing the known issues. In 1980, his passion, drive, and purpose now had a greater mission. Buddy set out on his own to make what he believed was the greatest bar he'd ever seen and trained with, and the Texas Power Bar was born. It was strong as a house, with the best knurling, and it was maintenance-free. Hundreds of state, national, international, and world powerlifting records have been and continue to be set and broken on the Texas Power Bar. To learn more about Texas Power Bars and buy one of their legendary bars, visit them at texaspowerbars.com.
What?
Thank you, Texas Power Bars. Now, should we get our guest on the horn?
Let's do it.
Like we said, this has been a long time coming. Can't hold anything back now, can you?
Let's do or die, Tanner.
Should we back out?
Just
the only downside is this means the running
it kind of
gag
does.
is
Like
over.
we
It's like the end of an era.
sort of yeah. Wow.
And I hate to lose
I
a running gag.
I actually didn't even think of that until right now.
Should we ghost him?
We probably should.
All right.
You know what? The dog even came
Bernie's
down for
here.
it. He knew
can get in on
he
this
knew how
one
big of an
instead.
event this was.
All right, I guess we'll try Jonnie then.
What's up?
Big Jonnie, is that you?
Yes, it is.
Excellent. You're
How's it
live
going?
on. Great. You're on the podcast with Tanner and Tommy.
What's up, Johnny?
How's it going? I thought about starting like an intro to YouTube video. Just right away. Go, what's up, guys? It's Jonnie Candito training.
And sometimes it just probably comes out as habit. You meet someone on the street and you just hit them with it.
Just fall back to what I know.
It just flows.
Yeah.
It's a decade of that line flowing.
We are very excited to get you on, Jonnie. It's been a long time coming. I'm not sure if you're aware of that or not.
Yeah. This has to be the most long-awaited thing I've done in my life. Like, I don't think this amount of kind of persistence and dedication has ever been put towards anything I've done. I mean, yeah.
I don't know if you've noticed, but some of our followers are
pretty passionate
Yeah.
about you being on the show.
Yeah, I have no choice but to respect it after the first year. Beyond that, then it just goes into straight respect. Maybe the first 6 months, kind of annoying. Then after it's like a year and a half, you're like, okay, this is.
It's like, really? They're
legitimately
still
impressive.
doing that.
Tanner said something that right before we had you on that didn't even cross my mind, and he said, once we have this phone call, we lose that ability to
Like the running, the gag is over.
of not having Johnny on the podcast. Like that's gone now, and that's kind of sad, actually.
Yeah, that's like. Hopefully, it's not one of those things where the realization is disappointment. But I don't. We have just the biggest hype ever, and then it's just like. Imagine if my like audio quality was so bad you just couldn't even hear me.
Yeah.
Like, all right. I was done.
So you have.
But yeah, this is my. I was gonna say this is my. I think this is my third podcast ever, as far as not episodes, but as far as podcast channels. Because I think the only ones I've done is Iron Culture with Omar Yusuf, and then the other one is Two White Lights with Angelo Fortino. So this is the third one. And I think the Angelo one was like voted podcast of the year for their thing. I don't know anything about the podcast ecosystem, so I don't even know how to judge episodes.
Yeah,
we're the final judge, so that's all
we'll
that
just
matters.
decide. We'll be the decider.
Like,
we'll
do you
be the
guys
judge and jury.
every time I know it's like kind of rude to ask, but it's like, do you guys get metrics based on that? Like, do you see the back end of like, okay, that was really good?
We'll know within
like
a week after this air. This will come out this upcoming Monday, and within a week after that, we'll have a really good idea of.
We'll usually have a really good idea within the first 4 to 8 hours.
Right. True.
Yeah.
Okay. Good. Yeah, because like everything I do, it's always, as far as YouTube, since it's such immediate feedback, it's always like, okay, so the goal is this, and then if it's a flop, it's a flop. If not, it's not. But it seems like podcasts are very nonchalant, just as a medium.
Well, and I think the analytics themselves are imperfect, but you can still compare week to week, or you can make the numbers themselves might not be perfect, but you can still make the comparison.
There's trend lines that you can follow. So yeah,
So because the one thing I checked for you guys' stuff was just on YouTube, and that's the only way it makes sense to me. I see the one with John Hack. I'm like, okay, I see what's going on.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, no. YouTube is such a very small portion of of people that consuming the podcast. The YouTube makes up a really. We do it because it puts it out there, and it's probably.
And there are people that find us that way, and there are people that prefer to listen that way. But definitely that is the minority on YouTube for us.
Yeah, that's interesting. You guys have good video quality. I respect it.
Thank you. Yeah, we
Tommy's the man on that.
We've put a little more effort into that over time here, but yeah, we're always.
Yeah,
I think we've been in this setup for about a year, and we'll probably do for a little change sometime soon here. But yeah, try and keep it fresh.
Do you guys upload in 4K?
No,
if you don't upload in 4K, I'm gonna leave.
Well, you know what the thing is?
Our problem is our length.
Well, the thing that's insane is like, so right now I'm using a Canon mirrorless camera. And you can't even record, we're recording. We do this all in one take, and our average episode's about an hour and a half long. And so you can't record over 30 minutes on the camera I have. So we have to record to an external recorder. And then I usually record in higher quality. So like the external recorder, like this video, once I bring it into my computer, it's like almost 200 gigs. The video itself is. Yeah. And then for like my computer to make, and that's just the 1080p. So 4K would be 4 times that. So that'd be an 800 gig file for us, which it just for sure. To export that would just take so long. And yeah, so we just stick with HD.
Yeah. That's what's funny is I actually have, I have like multiple cameras. I have like 2 4K cameras, 1 6K camera, 1 8K camera. And what's funny is the 6K RAW one, it's a Panasonic S5, and then with an external recorder, like you're talking about, with a Blackmagic RAW external recorder. And what's funny is the highest quality version for 33 minutes would be 1 terabyte.
Yeah, it's so much.
It's like, all right, I'm never using that mode.
Yeah, it gets to the point where it's just like the files are unwieldy and cumbersome, and it ends up not being worth it for all to go on YouTube and get super compressed anyways. Like it's but it is interesting actually. On that topic, that is something that I'm really working on. Is specifically something I'm trying to make a thing that's not a thing on YouTube Fitness at all right now. Is HDR video. And the reason being, and I really think this is going to be a big deal, obviously, like probably a year and a half from now, it'd probably be more universal. But the thing that I think nobody talks about enough is that most phones can display HDR video. Like now most people watch on their phones on YouTube, at least it's 40 to 60%. And every Samsung Galaxy, iPhone 11, 12, and then now 13, they all can show full HDR. And that's what I'm going to focus. Like, that's actually why I got that specific combo for that camera.
is not so much the resolution, because realistically, I mean, I do like 4K personally, but it's like one of those things where most of your audience isn't going to notice.
Yep.
But HDR video on YouTube, I think, is going to be that it's going to have the sauce, because that's the thing that, especially if you look at HDR video on even just a Samsung Galaxy, it looks crazy. Like, it's very noticeable.
Yeah, and I have like no experience in that field because I'm now rocking an iPhone that's like 3 years old, so I don't have true HDR, and like having actual like good quality HDR monitors are pretty insanely expensive still for the most part. So yeah, I don't have much experience myself with the HDR world.
Yeah, I'm overdosing on it. I'm going nuts. The moment I saw like a proper HDR video, I'm like, okay, now I have a Samsung Galaxy phone that displays HDR. I have a laptop that displays HDR. It's an Aero 15 with an OLED display.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have an LG C1 48-inch TV as a computer monitor.
Yep.
I'm just like, so now I have like literally 3 different HDR displays.
Yeah.
But I think for the most part, it's just the phones. Like, I do think a lot of people have, iPhone 11 and 12, really.
Yeah,
it's really
for
Apple
sure.
that drives all of this.
Yeah. Yeah. And they do. Yeah. Their new ones now shooting like their Apple ProRes or whatever, which captures HDR too. So yeah, there's a lot going on there. But one thing, so talking about your videos, we were talking before the show, would you say if someone said fitness YouTube, would you say you're part of fitness YouTube?
That's a good question. I would say yes.
Okay, so in that line, when I think of fitness YouTube,
where are you going? Yeah.
Well, so a lot of times, and this actually has nothing to do with the question, but a lot of times fitness YouTube, it's more of kind of like a vlog style, training logs, here's what's going on. Maybe some voiceovers of me talking, and here's what it is. It's fairly cut and dry. You know what to expect. But your videos have a little extra flavor sprinkled on them.
And beyond video quality, like what we're talking, I think there's like a little bit of a different crereative element. Something
like there's some sound design going on. There's some actual.
Well, you guys, I feel it feels great to.
I think there's
notice.
Actually, there's kind of some interesting creative things you've done. Like one thing I've noticed you've done this a few times in videos. It always reminded me of, I don't know if you ever watch Ren and Stimpy, or maybe more commonly SpongeBob SquarePants. They would sometimes shift to these ultra close-up, ultra detailed,
like the crash zooms.
And it's like on their eyeball, and it's like all bloodshot, and like I've kind of seen. I don't know if I've seen you maybe do that same thing, or just things that remind me of that.
Before. I did. Yeah,
right.
Yeah, like it's funny because it's exactly like what you're saying. Where I think, from my personal perspective, and I know everybody has a different opinion on this, I think there is an immense advantage to editing your own videos. It's where you go, I have an idea, and it's like, you can tell I'm the one doing the idea. Mm-hmm. You can feel that, like, even if, like, here's actually an idea that I want to do for my next video, which I'm going to literally record this tonight, is I want it to be, now I'll have to see if it ends up being just like cringeworthy or if it ends up working well. But I want to record like as if I'm talking about my workout, just normally with like no sound. It just sounds like just regular. And then like it slowly starts to rhyme a little bit. And then dramatic music comes in, and then it's like spoken word, like slam poetry.
Yes.
Like, then by that you're like, what the hell? And then it just goes back to normal.
But that's what I think is fun, though, because like on the surface, especially, if someone's not super familiar with who you are or is a really casual watcher, like they might pop in and be like, okay, yeah, this is kind of your expected fitness YouTube video. But then there's that one thing that goes on with the sound, or like, you go, wait, like it kind of catches you off guard. Yeah. And then like, there's kind of maybe that like fun graphic that comes in, and it just adds to that enjoyment level. And so I guess I'm saying I appreciate those things.
Oh yeah. Thank you. You know who I'd say I like the most as far as inspirations, where it's like, do you ever have that feeling when you see something where you're like, I know I like this? And because, there's certain things where you kind of culturally learn to like, especially I would say musically, where there are certain things where you're like, this is in my genetics that this is funny. Like, this is what funny is to me. And that's how I felt the first time I saw Eric Andre. And I'd say that's what some of my humor is like, pretty similar to that, where it's like that absurdism. You're just like, if you had a TV show or you have a video, you can do whatever you want.
Yeah.
like that to me has always been the main focus. And yeah, it is like, because sometimes it is like kind of different process wise. Like I remember there was one time where like what's cool is since you can do whatever you want, there's one time where like I had a sound effect first, and then you hear a sound effect and you're like, ooh, I could think of like a graphic that goes with that, and like start with the sound effect as opposed to the opposite. It's like you can do whatever you want, or you can well, there's actually a specific thing that I do that I don't think I know of YouTubers that do it, where you basically use animated GIFs, especially if they have a uniform background, and use GIFs, and then usually they're like lower frame rate, so you have to double time it and then copy it a lot, and then you can adjust it however you want, and then like it just has a different flavor, because it's like if you're using something that's like a green screen YouTube video or a video element off of some site that everybody uses, like I'm forgetting the name, but there are a handful of sites where you're like, okay,
like yeah,
exactly, where you're like, okay, I get the lens flare is like this lens flare, it's an orange one, and you transition from a low pass hip hop beat to then, like, we've seen certain things that are the same style. Whereas if you use like media that's not necessarily in one spot, you can just do a lot of crazy things. The only downside is it might take forever to find it. And forever to, like, I'm the type to where if I have a sound, like I will see how it sounds at 100%, then at like 50%, and then my biggest flaw is I never just stop at like 50%, 75%, 100. I go, okay, 77%. All right, how's it sound at 82? And I'm like, that part I probably should.
It's like Johnny in the studio. Run it back.
Yeah, because then, dude, the worst thing too is like sometimes something will sound like a really good idea, and it's like kind of seems good, and then afterwards you look at it and you're like, okay, I did go too far here.
Yeah, the rabbit hole can go too deep sometimes.
But yeah, overall, I think the best thing creatively, in my opinion, is to do something, then it sounds good or looks good, then overdo it, and then peel it back. Like that's almost always what I do.
Yeah, that's not a bad approach though.
Right.
Let's really take it to the extremes and
yeah, because you never know if you've done enough until you overdo it, and then you go, okay, then you bring it back. But yeah, it's overall that is really ultimately what I love about YouTube, and why I think I think YouTube is such a unique platform, where you see on Instagram, at least from my scene, I think Instagram's slowly dying as far as the amount of people on it, just generally. And I think it is because like there's less room to do all this. Like there's less room to express yourself, to do really whatever you want. Like you could do long form video, short form video, whatever you want.
Yeah, it certainly doesn't seem to be growing, and it doesn't.
Well,
yeah, I think it is
like we're at peak
statistically shrinking.
Instagram.
Right. Yeah.
I know. You know what I hate is like I'll lose like 0.7K followers if I don't post in a month.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, why did you leave though?
There is like a natural.
Unfollowing?
If you're not gaining followers, you are losing followers,
Which is so
Yeah.
weird. Like the number of times I'm going through and like pruning my Instagram like follow list is I maybe I've done it a few times ever, but like apparently a lot of people do that though.
Well, accounts ceasing to exist any longer, and
I
that sort of thing, I think, is
suppose
a
true,
factor.
Yeah, a lot of bots. I think.
Yeah. So I would imagine, you've been pumping out YouTube videos for probably about a decade. And you evolved over that period of time. Do you think now you're to a point where what's your goal or your mission with that? Is it fewer videos that you're doing more with, or what's your approach going forward with it?
Well, right now is definitely more videos.
Okay.
Actually, because this is an interesting question too, because like there was definitely a time where I was like, okay, I don't know if I want to do like one video a month or one video every 1 to 3 months. Like there's definitely a time where, there's a time where I didn't upload for like 14 months. But there was a time where I was like, okay, I think one video every 1 to 3 months while focusing on coaching would be the best balance. And I mean, luckily what's happened since I basically bought a new laptop, which helped a lot with speed. It wasn't the only thing, but I bought like a handful of things that helped out, and just basically it always comes down to just trying certain things. But like this year, especially, things have just gone really well to where it actually seems like it'd be more sensible to focus on YouTube even more. And it is always very hard time-wise. Like it's very hard to predict, but really my goal is 3 videos a month, if possible. And to just go super hard on it. And then it's like, then when you go hard on it, it depends. Obviously, I don't want to give too much information out, but it depends on what type of deals you do. It definitely can make sense if you go hard on it. Like that's
right.
like you definitely can say like, all right, like $1,000 to mention this thing, and then you can do it. Like, so it really is like whatever you want to make of it. And I would say when I hurt my back, it was more like, okay, I don't know what I want to make videos about. And then when I would make a video, it'd be like really well edited. But now it's like the opposite, to where I have so many ideas that I'm like, I do feel like I need to just get it out. And I'd still want to do those kind of over the top ideas, but I don't want to make it to where it's to the point where I literally can't get it out. Like I have a video idea for the 7-week program release that like I've already put like probably 100 hours into, but that was actually partially during a time when I wasn't uploading as much. But it's like an astronaut themed thing, and it's ridiculous. But it's one of those where it can get so ridiculous that you're like, I'll just never finish this if I don't just make some decisions here to just shorten the process. But so overall, it's definitely a conflict. Like it's definitely a conflict to say, okay, I want to get this video out, but then if you don't put that extra sauce on it, it's not that it's bad, but it just feels like it doesn't have to exist. Right. And I hate that. I hate videos that feel like they don't have to exist.
Right. Yeah.
Because I'm sure we've all seen it where you see a vlog where you're like, okay, like, did I really need to watch that?
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Along those lines, then, is there one video you've ever made that sticks out to you as your finest, the
masterpiece?
Opus Magnus or whatever the Latin, whatever it is, your finest hour?
I think probably the powerlifting comeback video. I think it comes down to two videos: either the powerlifting comeback video or the Red Dead Redemption video. Because I had a Red Dead Redemption parody where, like, that one, especially in terms of time put in, it was like ridiculous. Because it was like even the outro was just like the chalk was animated and then the sun was circling while I was like a animated version of me holding my dog. And it was like, it's just one of those where it took so much.
And that's like a fairly long video, isn't it, too?
Yeah.
Because I remember when that popped up, like I just clicked on it, like the time it would have came out, and just thinking, okay, I'm going to watch this like training video. And like right away I was like, whoa, something's going on here. Like I'm not going into what I thought I was going into. So yeah, I do remember that one. That was a good video.
Yeah, thank you, and I'm surprised you know that. That shows you're the real deal about this.
But we have both actually been following you for, and that is kind of funny to think about. Like, I probably ran like one of I don't know I think it's the 6-week strength program in maybe like 2013,
and
that's probably I didn't run the program then, but that's probably around when I came across you too. Was like 20, I would assume there, and it's like why. I mean, obviously you were like getting into the algorithm, or, you were finding, you were somehow getting in other places, but I don't know how it wasn't like Tanner and I telling each other about you, like, but it was just like people knew who you were, and that was fairly early on. It feels like, do you know why? Yeah. I mean, you had to have noticed that too.
What do you mean?
Well, like,
as far as
kind of stage? Like you were just kind of like in the powerlifting culture from an early time, as far as YouTube goes.
Was being on the cutting edge, is that part of it, that you were there at the right time too? Obviously you're putting out good stuff.
It was very deliberate. Like, it was very, I mean, I think it is one of those things where it's so many things. Yeah. But I would definitely say, I mean, it's kind of the typical conflict of, obviously there's, to some extent, there's like the right time, right place, and then there's survivorship bias on one end. And then on the other end, being the person doing it, it definitely feels very like each decision was just the right decision. Yeah, that's what it feels like from my perspective. Yeah. So there's a mix of like, there's some of both, but like what I would say is it's, especially if you look at a lot of YouTubers early on, it really is a very deliberate hustle. Like, it really is not an accident at all, because like I'd post stuff where I'll give a few examples. First of all, I had a video against Ripito that I've since deleted just because or I made it private. Because
that was a question I had. Yeah, we'll come back to that. So yeah.
So here's the thing. It's like, what's funny too is like, as I was recording that, I literally was getting laughed at in the other room in the library. And I'll never forget moments like that where I'm like, it's just so funny because it almost feels like a movie where you're like, I'm literally getting made fun of for being like kind of loud and like hearing them laugh. And it definitely required a certain risk to where I'm like, I'm going to do this no matter what. So I would record videos throughout college in just different rooms because I had a roommate. It's like, there's definitely a certain point where you just like had to make it happen. And then as far as specific traffic, well, I'd say it would come down to two things. Is one is objectively at that point, I was like second at nationals relative to my age and weight class. And like that just helps.
Yep.
And then also what I would do is I would post to forums. I would post to Reddit forums and T Nation. I was JC Tree Chunks on T Nation. JC Tree Chunks. Yeah. And I would post, I would post stuff like, and it was sincere questions. I said, can I make the Olympics? And here's my squat. And you just get roasted oftentimes, not always. And I think it was that willingness to just say, why can't I make the Olympics? Tell me, argue with me. And like, because I had that attitude, that would legitimately, posting on forums would get those early videos like 3,000 to 5,000 views.
Yep.
Like just immediate and early on, like that was a very powerful thing.
Well, we've talked about it with several other people before, like Dave Tate and others, how big of a deal forums were at one point.
Brandon
in time.
Campbell talked about it a ton. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And I would say it was that. And then it was also like, there were a series of decisions where I was like, I just think now I don't want to imply that other people do things wrong, blah, blah, blah. But obviously there are certain things where you can be more deliberate than other people. Like there are other, like a good example is like when I was in college, I remember I was offered $2,000 to mention something. And I would never do that, even though it would obviously be like a huge deal money-wise. Mm-hmm. And it was like, there were certain decisions like that where I knew like, okay, from 2011 to 2014, I'm never going to do any of that. So I literally never took a sponsorship deal up until like 200,000 subscribers.
So what was your reasoning? What was your reasoning then? Because that had to look like pretty good though, didn't it?
Yeah, but see, I'm not. I don't want to become pretentious, but I'm really not motivated by that.
Okay.
Like, really not. Like I really believe in powerlifting, especially at that time. Believed in it to an extent to where I'm like, and I believed in myself that like long term, I know I can learn like what I'm learning now, where my stuff's different than it was back then. And I've always felt confident in that. So I never felt like it's a fleeting moment that you like get what you can now. I've always kind of had that mindset of like, okay, nothing is more important than reputation. Like if you never see me co-sign a test booster ever, it will make you view me differently. Yeah, and it should.
True.
It's just
that's true. Yeah.
And it just matters in and of itself too. Like it's not just to have a good reputation, but it's like if you really care about it, it's like because I remember back in the day, YouTube was actually filled with BS. Like there really is a sense of like, there's something that needs to be changed. There's no how to squat video that's correct. I'm going to make the correct one. Like that was always my mindset. And I think that's ultimately what works the best is that there has to be a clear purpose. And you say, there is a hole here. Like, that's why I would never be a blogger, because I would never say there's not enough vlogs. Of course
no one's doing this right. I must take it on myself. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. Exactly. And like, that's why I've never made like a, how to squat video again, just like for the sake of it. Because then it's like, okay, if I think quality wise, maybe there needs to be an HDR how to squat video. So maybe if I think there's a need for it, I could. But yeah, it's like overall that sense of there needs to be a lane here. And as a viewer, I think it helped me also that I watched a lot of YouTube, and I still do. So it's like, as a viewer, I watch basically every fitness channel, and I know what I like and don't like about channels. And I'm like, okay, I don't like that, or that wasted too much time here. And then I think it's that competitive mindset that really helps, because then you go, okay, like who's making better videos than me at that time though? And it's like that, more of that attitude combined with obviously YouTube growing as a whole. Yeah. But yeah, if YouTube, it's funny. I think I told Omar, they said like there was a time where my channel was like basically banned because of, I forget why. Oh yeah, they thought that I click bombed ads because someone must have been clicking on my ads too much, and they actually removed my channel. And the fact that Google reinstated my channel, if they didn't do that, I don't think I would have done YouTube, because I think I would have been like, okay, that's too much work.
Yeah. That would have sucked.
I do think you missed out on, you could have sold a lot of Tribulus T boosters in the day though.
Oh yeah. And I forgot to say one big thing too was the the mix of bodybuilding content with the powerlifting.
Right.
It's like I am, because and that was something where like I knew very specifically, I'm like, I know I don't care about this to the level that a lot of people care. I mean, when I came up, Ziz was very popular.
Yeah.
It was like, it's how do you manage that? Do you just end up being the out of touch guy who's like, why do you like Ziz? He just looks like a guy who does casual drugs and was at some party. Like, it's because to me, it's like, I don't get the appeal of Ziz really at all. But then you start to like compromise with the audience. And I think that's something a lot of people, especially now on YouTube, don't do, is like the moment their views fall off, like they don't think, what can I do differently? Like, is there a meeting in the middle that I should do? Should I switch things up and just see what works? Experiment.
Yeah. So we talked about your some of your best videos ever. What I wanted to ask, and you did hit on it, is how, if ever, or how many you've had to go back and remove for any reason. And you brought up the rip one.
Yeah,
has there been others, or?
Yeah, there was one on stiff leg deadlifts that I removed. There was one on stiff leg deadlifts and then one on butt link that I removed. And it was like, they weren't even that bad. Like they got over 100,000 views, and I remember the stiff leg deadlift one was actually the first one Matt Ogus saw. And that was a huge, Matt Ogus was the first person to come on my channel. First person ever. And it was like, I'd never forget being in college. And it was like, it sounds, it's very strange that another man comments on my channel. Like, it literally made like my body feel warm. Like, I don't know how to say this without
There's a lot of blood rushing around.
Yeah, I don't know what type of caveats I have to give to that, but it was like that. I mean, I'll never forget it. And I was just in some dorm room in Northern Michigan University when that happened. And I'm just like, oh my God, like I really could not believe it. It was really one of the probably top 3 moment of my entire life, because it was such a positive, like, you should make more videos. Like, you really could do this. And it was just a really over the top positive comment. And it was what's funny is looking back, it was on a 405 for 13 rep deadlift. So now it's like back in the day, that was like, oh, that's crazy. Like,
this is quality content.
Yeah. But yeah, as far as the information goes, like, that is a great question. It is really, it's a tricky balance. I think that is something that's helped with the longevity of my channel as well, is that I haven't given too many opinions on things where I'm like really uncertain on, or it's really just a hunch. Like there was, like I said, I think the stiff leg deadlift video, which, you know, for the most part, I still think was useful, but there are just like a few things I said where I'm like, it's like I said something about like activation of the lower part of the hamstrings or something, where I'm like, I don't know. I don't know if I was just making that up. Like I get how like there are certain things you can extrapolate that kind of make sense. But I think for the most part, I don't think I've deleted any other video other than like the Ripito and the stiff leg. And the Ripito one, I still am very glad I made it. Like the Ripito one, I don't think was wrong information wise. And the funny thing is, like, there have actually been people who disagree with Ripito now, who've fallen out with Ripito, who disagree with me then. So they were kind of in Ripito's corner and disagreed with me. But then everybody kind of eventually leaves Ripito, and then it's like, yeah, no, Greg Knuckles is right about you want your hips under the bar. It's kind of funny how the whole time, like, I was kind of against Ripito's cue from the beginning, but that's actually how Greg Knuckles and I met too. Like we talked online around the time of that video. So yeah, it's overall, it's like, I think there are very few things that you end up regretting as long as you update. Like, as long as you're like, okay, you know, like beltless work. I think most of us believed beltless work was more effective than we believe now. I think that's just like a generally true thing as studies come out showing it doesn't increase activation to not have a belt.
Right.
So like there are certain things that you can just update, and it's, you know, it's no big deal. I think it really is only if you show poor character in a video. And I've never really just had a video where I'm like just wilding out. You're just like, what the hell? Because I know some channels where like they use the F word towards a particular group, not like the F word is in the other F word. And it was like one of those where you could tell, like, man, if that video was still around today, like that would not be well received. And you could tell that they deleted it.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I think it's always helped that I've always had kind of more of the like Catholic school mindset with public content. Like I've never felt like it would be intuitively comfortable to cuss a lot publicly. I've just never,
I
that was
agree.
never my
Or
bone.
or
like,
that it like
YouTube, I
gets you
should-
something different that or gives you an advantage. I don't know.
I also think it's worth
No,
more
I
if
think it
it's more
does.
sparing.
Oh.
Anyways, you know, the less you use it, the more it means when you do.
Yeah, that's true too. Yeah, that's why the only time I would cuss on videos is like in a skit or something, and then I definitely think it makes it funnier. But I totally think it's an advantage long term. Like and that's something that I've always believed too, is like you have to think from YouTube's perspective. I mean, look at how the adpocalypse happened, and look at, I mean, just how sponsors think. It's like at the end of the day, it's going to pay off if you have clean content. And dude, I think some people forget just how, like, I mean, and this is someone who I admire a lot and I'm cool with, I want to collab with, but like Chris Jones, like literally his logo is two girls on their knees. Like, bro, I don't know if long term like that puts out the best image.
How much does this have for legs to it? Like, how far can you go with this? I don't know. Hard to say.
Yeah, and it was kind of that peak like Hodge Twins era where it's really funny, like the nut busted jokes. I love it, but it's like, it comes with risk.
You brought up the Matt Ogus thing, how that was a big deal for you at the time when you got the comment.
Oh yeah.
Funny thing. So we've been podcasting for this is 5.5 years. This episode is the 5.5 year anniversary. We haven't missed an episode over those 5.5 years every week.
Awesome.
And we started putting them on YouTube around episode 30 or something. So I would say 5 years ago, approximately. And we actually had a few comments on some of our early videos that were in that realm. Namely, one of them being from you, Jonnie.
Really?
Yes. Yeah. We got a couple of comments from you back, I would say 4 to 5 years ago on YouTube.
Wow.
Yeah, we were probably under 100 episodes, I think, right?
Yeah, for sure. And I vividly remember the conversations being like, "Oh, did you see Jonnie commented on the YouTube video? Like, that's crazy." Mm-hmm. So what we were wondering is, can you remember anything? Because we mostly like to talk about ourselves on the podcast. So can you remember in one of the first instances where you became familiar with Massenomics in any way?
No.
That's the best answer.
I would have to think about it. I think I would have to honestly see like the thumbnail or title, because that's the thing. Like, was it significantly different? It was probably significantly different than the format now, right?
It was.
Oh
yeah.
Because I'm definitely a very visual person. So like I really like, if I saw the thumbnail or whatever, I probably then like immediately picture the video. But whenever I think about you guys, I just think about the current setup now.
Right.
Like,
right.
Everything.
Yeah, we looked different. The room was different. It was all. Yeah,
there was another person.
There was another person.
Yeah,
it was significantly different.
It is funny though. It's like, but that connects back to like what I was saying as far as like actually watching YouTube, and like I'm sure I was really actually into it. Like I definitely never comment if I'm not, even though I do. There were some YouTubers who would do that, who would just comment like everywhere for the sake of it.
Yeah, that's a strategy, I suppose.
Yeah, exactly. And it was like an explicit strategy. Dude, that's where, again, I know this might be survivorship bias, but like I do think people can feel when you're real. Like I just think people can sense that, like, okay, you're not just commenting just for the sake of it.
The funnest comment is when you go on someone, if we can jump in on your say Instagram post or your YouTube and have like the perfect funny comment that just like blows up in likes in the comment section. Like that's more rewarding than coming up with like good original stuff. Like when we have a post of our own that does really well, like I always love that feeling. It's like, they all get it too.
yeah, dude, that's the cool, like even on my recent Instagram post, like Ed Cohn commented, and there always is just something so cool about the fact that it's like so many different people interacting, where you go like Ed Cohn and I would never be talking.
Right.
You know what, dude, you know what's funny as hell? Dude, this is the weirdest thing, is I actually had a very weird moment with Ed initially. Dude, his Twitter, I thought for sure was a bot. Like I thought for sure. I think there was some bot action going on like very, very early on. So this is what, like before you posted videos and stuff. And I swear, I think I made some like cheeky kind of like, negative comment in reply because like every tweet was like linking to something. So I was like, okay, I thought this was a bot. And then he replied seriously. I was like, oh shit, like that's really
crap.
The cone bot is
like,
aware.
Yeah, I'm like, whoa. Because dude, it's so interesting how I think we've seen older generations as well, like it's kind of like breaking through the fourth wall, where it's like it used to be, okay, if you're a very successful powerlifter or bodybuilder, you talk through a magazine and then you kind of give like corny advice on you
don't
how
have
you
a
should
real
train really hard.
personality,
Right.
and you're
Right.
hidden behind 5 layers.
Right, kind of like the Joe Weider thing, where it's like he kind of
Yes.
like manufactures, to some extent, Arnold, and it's like it becomes this facade. Whereas I think what's so cool now is it's all broken down, and then I think you do see a lot of the smarter lifters tend to last much longer, and a lot of the guys, like I'll never forget when I saw Dave Tate say what he thinks about Greg Nuckols, and he's like, I think he's great. Like he writes about a lot of, or he was subscribed to Mass, the journal, and he's like he informs me on stuff I didn't know. And I was just like, just that attitude alone goes so far, because there's so many in the past, especially with Ripito in particular, there was like this attitude that like in 30 years you'll understand Ripito's right. I remember I got that comment a lot. It's like, no, I don't think so.
It's so fun, and you probably experienced this even to a greater extent, but when you've been around in the space long enough, like especially with the podcast, we've gotten to have, say everyone we're talking about, Dave, Greg, Rip, you, we've had all of you on the podcast before. So every time we talk about one of these people, we can actually draw from like a personal experience, and it makes it that much.
On the
yeah,
podcast?
we had Rip on our podcast, and we were actually on his podcast even too. So
I mean, you could say we were on it. I mean,
well, we
might
got
not
yelled
have
at quite a bit.
We might not have participated much, but we were on it.
See, I will say that's another important thing as far as online content is also, it's like there's definitely part of me that likes almost everybody who posts videos, and I'll agree with them on certain things. Like I like that Ripito was very I don't know where you guys stand on this, but where he was very outspoken as far as the transgender rules as it pertains to the female division, and like that's where Ripito and I completely agree on. And I made a video basically defending the USAPL at the time, and it's one of those things where I would say, from what I've sensed, most people agree with the USAPL on that. And it was just, it's funny because then someone said like, yeah, like you and Ripito are the two ones like willing to say something on this. And I do find that cool, where it's like Ripito and I may have totally different temperaments on almost everything else, like totally different attitudes. But yeah, and I don't mind at all. Like, and maybe his reasoning is a little bit more, cut and dry, whereas, maybe I would find my argument slightly more convincing. But at the end of the day, it's like, it doesn't even matter, because sometimes it's a matter of like, what type of character does someone have? And I do think Ripito seems like a high character guy. And then it's just, okay, is he open-minded? Maybe not as much.
That's yes, I would say absolutely not.
Tanner,
I was trying to think
let
of
that one go for a
well,
second.
I was trying to think, just thinking in my head of what I would describe, and that's a good way. Like, absolutely not open-minded. Definitely not. No.
Yeah. But he's still a good guy, and that's like I will disagree
he's
with
very
people
nice
all day.
working with him.
Yeah, on people who think Louis was a better influence than Ripito, I think are dead wrong. Like I think Ripito did exactly the most important thing, which is the basics to as many people as possible. And like that at the end of the day, Ripito and I both have the same goal in that. Like I think both of us, we would rather see more people squat with a bar than anything else, than having a world championship team, or seeing some a study on heeled shoes versus flat shoes for the 5,000th time, which shows there's no meaningful difference in activation in the quads. Like how many times have we seen that? Like we've had enough of that with an 11-person study.
Mm-hmm. And I think
the
oh, go ahead. Well, I just think that part of there's a little bit of what happens with Rip is that they really do want, their main goal is to teach just the basics to the beginners. Like that's where they really excel at. And like a lot of people will take what they're doing and like apply it to other things that they're not necessarily really trying to apply it to.
Yeah, they're like almost projecting their version of it onto other things.
Right, and that's where it gets like where it really gets out of whack then too, because it's not really ideal for a lot of other situations. But I think that's part of and then there is like the zero open-mindedness part of it, and that all plays into it. But I think
in the Olympic weightlifting thing, like that's one early on where I was like, Ripito saying like he says everybody should low bar squat, and what he recently said about Lasha, that like, or I forget, was it about Lasha? I think.
Yes,
that
it was.
said
That
snatch.
technique doesn't, it's just strength.
Yeah, technique doesn't matter for the snatch. It's just like, okay, that's just stop. Why are you even talking on this? So I do think, there are problems there, but yeah, like I said, it's the character, and I do think, I mean, every now and then I'll talk to people who post online. Like, it's very, very rare, but every now and then you do see some people who are slightly low character wise, and it's like it just stands out very much, and they almost never last, because it's like it's just, you just can't be like that. But it's like I mean I've really talked to people where it's like they've collabed with like Omar had him on the channel, and then like they complained to me that like Omar uploaded again too soon, and it was like, what? And it got like 50,000 views, but he wanted him to let it sit, and I'm like, damn, like that's entitled.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. That's
calling the shots on someone else's channel.
Right.
Like, and some people do have that attitude. And I think that's what's helped me early on is like when Omar wanted to collab, like Omar helped me out a ton early on, big time. And it was definitely one of those things where it's like, when someone helps me, it's like, there's an obligation to provide your value, and then to also not be weird about it. And I just think so many people are weird about it. Like, so many people, you kind of mention them and then they like they gravitate to you too much, and then they end up resenting you because then they're gravitating too much. Yeah. Like, it's a weird push and pull.
It's like they start to expect something out of you. It's like, no, we're all doing our own thing. Like, we'll just do our thing, and then anything that happens is great, but don't expect extra special stuff on top of that.
Right. And then a big thing too is like, especially with YouTube, in my experience, YouTube's a smaller world than people think. So it's like, I mean, it is weird to think with YouTube Fitness, like, how many people really is it who are in the powerlifting world? Like, kind of both.
Well, especially once you start looking at the powerlifting side too, like, it really narrows it down.
Yeah. I mean, dude, that's why I always think, and I know this is definitely an ego thing, but it's like, I do part of me kind of wishes I could restart now and build back up just to prove like you
could do it still.
I could do it again.
Right.
Because I'm just like, in the end of the day, it's like you have Calgary Barbell, myself, Alan Thrall, Omar dabbles in powerlifting, and then it's like, how many after that? Russell for sure, and then
the strongmen have certainly found their place in it, where they've but they kind of have coming. If you're Brian Shaw, you're coming from a different platform,
like from a point of celebrity,
right? Exactly,
almost more than strength, even.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I think powerlifting could go pretty far. Like, I think powerlifting could get to that point eventually, especially if certain sponsors line up. I think the only issue with powerlifting is there's a lack of clarity as far as tested versus untested and weight classes. Right. Like, I think strongman's big advantage is like, who's the strongest man who does strongman? Brian Shaw's the strongest man who does strongman. Okay, strongman, that's it. Like, immediately they get that. It's as simple as possible. Whereas, powerlifting's a little bit weird. But again, it's like, I think one of the main things that's always stood out to me is I hate it when people say just because things are the way they are that it has to be that way. And it's like, a great example is Dan Bell. It's like, Dan Bell was not, he didn't have, I think, even more than like 35,000 followers when we did our long form interview. No. And it's like, you just know, I think, I may be lowballing him. I'm not sure.
No, I think that's probably in the right ballpark. Yeah.
Yeah, because I remember even considering putting a graphic up of like, even relative to Andre Milanichev, like Dan Bell had way less followers. And it's one of those things where it's like, well, then our video together that we've done like a month and a half, 2 months ago, like it has 115,000 views, something like that. And it's just like, of course it does, because he's the strongest guy on the planet. Right. Like, of course it would. And I think some people get complacent and they go, well, they rationalize why someone's not popular. Like, well, it's because, maybe people don't want to see a guy that big or a guy in the untested side. It's like, no, I think they would. And I think that the fact that I've always been that opinionated on some of those things, that's like, I've always had the attitude that there are millions of people who Google bench press. There are millions of people who Google squat. If you can reach those people, I don't care what federation it is, how it has to happen, those people can be reached. And they're not even close to being saturated. So that's why I think anybody could start a channel today and be successful. Because literally there's a potential audience of millions.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, for sure. Jonnie, we've got this little game called Overrated, Underrated that we like to play with every guest. And we've got a special Jonnie Candito set of topics for you.
Right.
We'll fire them off. And All you have to do is let us know if each one is overrated or underrated. You can elaborate as much or as little as you want to, but you can't ride the line. You have to definitively come up with an overrated or underrated on each one. So if you're ready to play, we'll shoot them over to you. And
I'm ready.
All right. Number 1, overrated or underrated, Kanye West.
Ooh, oh man. This is tough. It's so wrong to say underrated because he has stands that would like die for him. But I'm gonna say underrated because I'm not gonna call him overrated.
So did we see? Did you go to one of the Donda events?
Yes, yeah, I went to the Chicago one, the one that he actually releases album on.
So,
dude, I had tickets to the second one as well, and I just didn't make the trip to Atlanta.
So you must obviously be you have to say you're a Kanye fan then, for sure, right?
For sure. Oh yeah.
Okay. So, like, what was it like going to that?
Dude, it was crazy. It really was as good as I imagined. Like the nice part too is what's funny is like I overthought it so much. I literally bought tickets initially. They were like mid-level, and then ticket prices were going down. And then I bought like a super close ticket. I'm like, okay. So I had 2 tickets. But what's funny is on that super close one, it was so loud. It was like, okay, this is going to cause brain damage. So luckily I was able to go up where, a handful of people were smoking blunts beyond what I expected, I will say. but overall, it was ridiculous. And it was, to me, a guy like Kanye is so inspiring because it is like what we were talking about earlier as far as creativity and just being able to do whatever you want. It's like the way the smoke's going, the way the cars are going around a circle, like a ritual, the way Kim Kardashian's out in a wedding dress. Like I was actually on the same side as when Kim Kardashian came out. It's like fairly close, and you just see it. It's just like, it's just so over the top. It was like some crazy ritualistic thing, and then him being on fire.
Yeah,
awesome.
He really does have free reign to literally do almost whatever he wants in the world. It's kind of insane.
Yeah, like that's in with my athletic aesthetic intro, I have a smoke machine, and that's something that, dude, a smoke machine is totally worth it. But
we've actually talked about that several times here.
I kind of wonder about those fire machines though too, that they, where they have like it shoots up about a 3 or 4 foot flame behind you.
Yeah, those are like the ones they use in Russian meats sometimes, right?
Yeah. It's like those little flamethrower. Yeah.
And that's my attitude when it comes to practice. It's like, dude, there's so many things you could do. Like there's so many things as far as RGB lighting, as far as smoke like that, just lighting in general. There was like, do you guys remember when 9 for 9 Media was a thing?
Yeah, absolutely.
Are they not a thing anymore?
I don't. They have an Instagram account that I don't think's posted in like 4 years. So
I have not seen photos from them in a long time.
Do you like him?
Well, I just thought I never knew who was behind it. I was just
okay,
like, well, it's at least
sucks.
Okay. Yeah, we didn't know.
I was gonna say it was at least someone putting photos out there though of me. It's like there wasn't.
Dude, it made me. It was beyond bad.
Oh, really?
It was beyond bad. It was to where it was. I mean, I have never wanted to fight someone until then.
Okay.
It was like to that point. I mean, really, I really wanted to fight him because it was like I paid like $200 for video package and photo package, and dude, I could not emphasize how bad the video was. I mean, it was so bad. I saw it and I was just like,
okay, I get what you're saying. Yeah.
It's like where you open it, you just immediately get heated. Where I'm like, no, this is a joke. This isn't real. Right. I mean, I really thought it was a joke. And it was like, it was a video from a tripod that didn't move the entire time. And then it was so overexposed that like my shoes were just blue, like streak. We're just like, dude, are you kidding? And then I rolled the bar back for my deadlift. It was at the Nationals, so I deadlifted 694 and totaled like I forget what I told, like 1660, something like that. And to get top 10, it was like really, it was my best nationals, by far. And I rolled the bar back, and because it's just on a tripod, it was like I was just tiny in the shot, and just like, God, I just couldn't believe it. But I think that we could talk about that too. The USAPL kind of has to figure out how to make media not a monopoly. Because at that point, there's no incentive to even make good content. Mm-hmm. And I think that was the problem. And overall, now that I know more about photography and cameras compared to then, I do see their stuff. And I'm like, even the photos were like out of focus.
Oh,
just like every now and then, like 1 or 2 was good. But it was like, you really just see there's so much of an advantage to being close.
So did they just fold up shop then? Or what? They don't exist anymore, do they?
I don't think so. Yeah,
No.
because I mean, it was interesting that did you see how it unfolded where they had a post about how the transgender rule. It was so weird. It was like they posted agreeing with the USAPL about the transgender rule, but they did it in an over-the-top way that featured like a bunch of old single-ply women.
Oh,
They
yeah.
featured like a bunch of Bettys saying like, no, we want to keep the division how it should be. And they just went a little too hard, and then that violated USAPL's like political rules or something. And then they suspended them, and I don't think they're coming back.
Oh, I've
But
not kept up with them.
crazy.
That's a name I kind of forgot until you even said. One more quick one on the
Yeah.
Kanye West thing. What is Jonnie Candito's #1 Kanye West album?
Album?
Yeah.
I would say My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy for
Yeah.
sure. For sure. That's just, even though Anthony Fantano gave it a 6.
Was it a
give it a
6 or was it a 7?
They gave it a 6.
Oh,
I don't-
okay. I can never remember if
You
it's a
know,
6 or 7.
It's a meme. Like the 6 is the meme. I think he may have done a redux. He did another review of it, and I think he still gave it a 6 or a 7.
Well, but
so
he
maybe he gave it a 7.
He gave Donda a 7 though, didn't he?
Yeah.
Okay. To
And he
me,
gave Drake's a 3.
oh,
So
I
big W for Kanye.
I won't. Well, I won't disagree with the Drake one too hard, but
Yeah.
the I don't know. To me, no. Beautiful, my Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. Yep, that's the #1. I'll go with that all day.
Yeah, it's definitely tighter, and that's the thing. It's like that's what it's always good when someone just makes it to where there's no filler. Like I think he said he had Power. I think it was Power where he had it like remastered, something like absurd, like something like I think he had like 12 different people do the mastering.
Oh, really?
Not like 12 different times. It was like 12 different people entirely to like get it perfect.
Yeah.
It was just like I think he spent like 5,000 hours on it. Some like nutty thing to where like that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. Well, he's probably got unlimited budget, so.
Yeah.
Overrated or underrated tights?
Oh, underrated, easy. Yeah, you know what? Like I think the most underrated is wearing bright colored clothing in general, specifically because you're selling. If you're a powerlifter, on some level, you're selling human movement. So to me, like that actually is explicitly why I wear bright colors. Because I've always thought like the whole point is people are watching human movement, and it's like why on earth would you wear black? Because you're selling human movement. Like to me, it's just nuts. It'd be like if you made
that's a good take on it.
Yeah.
yeah, it's like if you made a basketball black or something, it'd be just harder to see. It's like what
Yeah.
make it camouflage.
There's not a lot of black sports balls, are there?
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, I don't think so.
No, that's a good take.
Yeah, that was really the orange. The orange was really a signature look for a while, it felt like.
Yeah. Yeah, see, these are the things, like, especially coming up where it's like you explicitly think about it, like, and especially if you notice that views are correlated to certain things, you're like, okay, like, I'll give a great example is, you know, what's funny is the lowest views my channel's ever gotten, probably on a video by video basis after 2014, like, when we say I'm established, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then after that, the lowest views per video was when I had my best total ever. Was at the Arnold when I totaled 1675. Leading up to that, I'll never forget. I got now. It's hard for me to say this without sounding entitled, but I'll never forget getting like 13,000 views in a day and just being like, "Damn! Like I just can't believe this.
Yeah.
This is disgusting." But and then what's funny is then after that, I'm like, okay, I actually lost a slight amount of subscribers the day of competing. Like I remember checking my phone, just being like, that. I don't think that ever happened up until then, even during the super long break. I'm like, damn, like, because in the end of the day, my audience obviously cares about my competitions on some level, but not all the way. So where if you overdo it, like they want to see informative videos too.
Mm-hmm.
They want to see like creative editing. So, but what's funny is that then after that, I took like a little bit of time off to like figure things out. And obviously I was very happy about the total, regardless, you know, not everything's for views.
Right.
But then that was right. The next video was when I was bald. And like that, like when I do stuff like that, it's not totally a gimmick, but it is
Yeah.
very on purpose.
Yeah,
that I'm
yeah.
like,
It's
okay,
a
I just know,
calculated
I know
move.
now's the time.
Yeah.
And they got 100,000 views. And I'm like,
Yeah.
what's up? We're back.
That's good.
And using pound plates, though, honestly, that is a huge one. Like that's one where I've noticed a very clear relationship, both in my channel and other channels, where I see someone go from pound plates to kilos, and it really tanks the traffic.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. 675 looks a lot different if you're using a deep dish plate versus
those
Yeah,
discs.
Yeah, even a 495 squat, like
Right.
just 5 plates on there just looks massive. And then you
Right.
can do that every week. So, well, I can.
Yeah, right,
I
right.
guess it depends on. But
Okay.
yeah, it's stuff like that's so underrated. Like, because even when I deadlifted leading into Arnold, 650 for 4 at RP 8.5, and so you're saying potential 650 for 6 maybe, which is like just by far the best set I've ever done in my life. And even on Instagram, because that was with kilo plates and in a kind of an unaesthetic gym with like brick wall. I mean, it was literally like bottom 5 posts. I'm like, are you kidding?
Yeah.
like bottom 5 all time. Wow. And then I squat, in the driveway, and it's like, boom, automatically comes back to life with the pound plates.
Okay. Overrated or underrated? The long jump.
Oh, damn. You did some research on that. I'm going to say underrated. I think track athletes in general are so underrated. I just believe, like especially long jumpers and 100-meter sprinters, it can do things that, especially if you see a long jumper on a basketball court, like so many of those guys can jump like from the free throw line. It's just unreal. Whereas NBA players, like, there's a handful that can do it. Like, do you guys know James White?
I don't think so.
He's a big throwback. Yeah, he's
Okay.
he's a very niche guy. Like
Okay.
he's literally just a dunker who was like a 6'8" dunker, but he's like one of those guys who supposedly could touch like the top of the backboard. So there's some guys like that who are natural jumpers, but then they're not great players. And it's like, I feel like track and field has so many of those guys though, who can just do crazy things. And then obviously they're just not good basketball players, so they don't do that. But yeah, I definitely think track athletes are some of the most impressive in the world. And I think Usain Bolt's like the best athlete of all time, personally.
What was your best, your farthest jump?
21 feet, exactly. Well, it was 6.39 meters, which like technically, it's funny that I say I've deadlifted 700 pounds and long jump 21 feet. In both of them, I technically deadlifted 699.999. And then in long jump, 6.39 meters is technically 20 feet, 11 inches, 0.9 something.
Did
Did
you do any other events? Did you run the 100 or anything else like that then?
Yeah, not so great. No,
Okay.
not good. Like I really was like the stereotypical powerlifter where I had really good start, just trash like endurance, just so bad. I mean, I think I had the worst endurance of any non-fat person I know. Like to make that a technical statement.
Yeah.
But like I really, I think it really coincides with powerlifting though, is that even with long jump. Even among long jumpers who jump 21 feet, I mean, I was probably one of the slowest ones. And then of vertical leap from a standstill, I probably had like one of the highest, if not like, I bet there was not a long jumper who jumps 21 feet who had a higher 2-foot vertical than I did. Like it was like pure power off of that. And it helped a ton for long jump. Like, don't get me wrong. Like it definitely, I think powerlifting helps tremendously for sports. I mean, it transformed me. Otherwise it would have been, long jumping like 1910.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just one of those things where you can see some people are gifted when it comes to how they move on that top speed. I just never had that like tendon strength fluidity.
All right. That's good. All right. This is your last overrated, underrated topic, Jonnie. And it kind of all comes down to this one. So big pressure here on this last one. Overrated or underrated, the Candito 6-week strength program.
It's got to be underrated. I'd never call it overrated. I that's one of the big things too. Is like I've always believed in it, and I think that one of the things I thought about early on is I've always thought that it seems like people only speak with confidence when they're selling you something on YouTube, and otherwise a lot of the guys who are like kind of science guys, they obviously sound unsure because in the end of the day, there is a lot of uncertainty. Like there's some realistic uncertainty there, but a lot of them like really hedge their statements. Like if you see a video by someone giving advice who's respected source, I thought about saying names, but I just don't want to like come across as insulting. Like there's some people where they just kind of sound like soft. They sound doughy. That it's like they up talk. Like, I think maybe you should squat wider. Like more of that kind of tone. And like, to me, it's always, what if you sold something that's just free and good and you sold it with 100% of your heart? Like as if you're going to be a millionaire if enough people do this. And that's the attitude like I've always taken. So, yeah, I would say the results speak for themselves. Thousands of people, probably like 6-figure people have done
that's
it.
what I wanted to
imagine.
ask, if you had any estimate of how many people have ran.
Yeah, I wish I wish I had that tracked. Like, for my friends, because I've asked that before, and they definitely think somewhere in the like 100 to 500,000 people, I would imagine, have done it.
I bet
Somewhere.
Yeah,
I
don't
would
think
guess
that's
in
crazy
there.
either.
No,
But
just
it is. I mean, you couldn't have. Did you think that would ever be the case when you made that program? That there'd be like even tens of thousands that would ever run it?
Oh, that's a good question. Man, I don't know. I probably think yes. I mean, I really think I felt like, because I remember I started making it when in my dorm room, which is funny. Like, I started making the 6-week program like on a piece of paper, like old school style, not just on a phone or laptop.
yeah.
And I do remember feeling passionate about, because I would always look at it relative to the competition, and I go, okay, 531 is like the only thing that's similar, and I feel like it's better than 531. So why wouldn't it have the same audience? Like, that really is. That's always been my attitude. Is like, why not? Is if I can see that the next best thing is not that great, I can do better than that, and I should get exactly its spot, if not more. And then that's like, it always bothers me when people say that, oh, programming's basically the same thing, or like, oh, it's not that important. The specifics just matter getting people into lifting. And it's like, I've always felt the opposite, where it's like, there's so much that can be done if you just do a certain thing. If you do a few things differently, and then you multiply that by like 100,000 people doing it, it could just have such a strong effect. Like, I know of people personally, a lot of people personally, who've done like the 6-week program, then they build their strength up. And one person told me it was like he used the 6-week program as like a tryout almost. And then, because then Joey Flex accepted him after he's at a certain strength level. And then he'd set like he's the guy who, did you see there was recently a 66 kilogram lifter? I think he was 66 or 74, who pulled like 300 kilos beltless hook grip.
Oh, wow. No.
In the USAPL. Yeah. And he set like a junior world record unofficially, I think. And he's like on his way to setting just an all-time world record, I would say. And he's like 19 years old. And he's the one who told me that. So he ran like the 6-week program at 16. Then like Joey Flex accepts him at like 17 or 18. And then boom, like world record level. And it's like, to me, stuff like that is just so awesome to hear. Because it's like, that's what it's all about. Where if he did West Side, and that, maybe Joey Flex wouldn't have accepted him, because he would not have. He'd be like, all right, your box squat's strong, but there's no direction here.
You're not making the cut.
Yeah. Great news, Johnny. The results are in. You passed overrated, underrated.
All right.
And that's
I
the
passed.
most important thing here. So
You get what do I get a sticker?
you actually get cool beans. We usually hand out a couple cool beans at the end for everyone that passes. So
Are you guys gonna be at the next nationals? Do you guys have a booth ever or something?
We're headed to Kansas City this weekend for the Showdown meet. We go to the Arnold and set up a booth there. And where is nationals?
I don't know.
Yeah, that's the big thing. We live in western northeast South Dakota, so almost everything is a 20-hour drive for us to set up a booth. So just to get to Ohio is like when we come for the Arnold,
It takes 2 days.
Yeah, you'd think South Dakota is Midwest, Ohio's Midwest. Yeah, it's not that far. It's like a 20-some hour drive for us to get there. So
how long is it to Texas?
same.
Well, yeah.
20
Well, I think
probably,
isn't Texas the thing is to the north part of Texas it's 10 hours and then it's another 10 to the south part? Is that
that's probably not far off of that. Yeah.
Roughly.
Yeah, so we have a jaunt to get anywhere.
All right. And well, I'm gonna be in Fort Worth, Texas in November 6th. So I'm gonna be officially back in Texas permanently.
Oh, you're moving there.
Moving.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Fort Worth, Dallas area.
Okay.
I think I'll probably be in there permanently. I'll see. It'll depend on a few things. But overall I love Texas. I think Texas, especially powerlifting wise, has like the best culture.
You're not going to go to Wichita Falls though and move when you're in Texas?
Yeah, I'd love to. I really would love to collaborate with Ripita in person.
That would be awesome. That would be really cool.
That would be hilarious. I think it feels like my brain isn't working right.
I think they would. I think there's possibilities there, and I think they would. Be open to it. He's the group around him. I think recognizes opportunities with that sort of thing too. So
yeah, Yeah, and you know what's funny is I forget what I was gonna say about it. Damn, my mind just went completely blank. Like I just had something very specific ready. Oh yeah, it was the bench rules video. Starting Strength
Yeah.
shared that. Like they shared it and they totally agree. And they did obviously like imply they've been saying it, and it's like, okay, shut up. Just share it. It's like, oh, he said something like, oh, when a popular YouTuber says what you've been saying, it's like, all right, I get the sass, but overall, definitely, totally, they liked it.
Yeah. We're not gonna have time because it would honestly be another hour conversation at least to talk to you about all the USAPL IPF stuff.
Yeah, you know what's funny? I'll just say very shortly.
Yeah, that's what I want to just get your short.
I'm
take
on the USAPL side.
Okay.
Even though I hate the USAPL, the USAPL has not hate, but it's probably too strong a word. But the USAPL has like personally insulted me. Like they literally implied I'm selfish for my video against nationals in the way they did lifetime memberships. Like they've said like it's not just about one person's gain. Like and then like implied that I'm about my own personal gain only.
Right.
I think the thing is like sometimes when you make videos, this was a big theme of like my whole life, is sometimes when you make videos, people think it's more personal than it is.
Yeah.
Like I remember even making a video on like training frequency. And then I remember Joey Flex just innocently said like, oh, was this about someone that set you off? Or I think I know who you're talking about. I was just like, I don't even know what you're talking about. I'm talking about training frequency. What do you mean? This is not something where it's like, if I felt
a hidden
some like beef with someone, I just talk to them.
Yeah.
I don't.
Everything doesn't need to be read into so much.
Yeah, and I think the USAPL, not a lot of people, but I think some people thought that I was mad at the USAPL for the lifetime memberships because I wasn't going to get in. And I was not going anyways. Like literally the moment it was announced that there were going to be really a lot of COVID restrictions, I remember telling my friends in a group chat that like, oh yeah, I don't think it'd be worth it for me to go then because it's not a big show if it's not nationals to that level.
Right.
And it was only after that then the lifetime membership was a totally different animal. And one that I just completely disagreed with. But also even
now, like the lifetime membership, when did they introduce that? A year, 2 years ago? The value of that has drastically changed already.
True. Yeah.
Yeah. And the way that they presented it, and they said, we're a nonprofit to me and we're not about like someone's personal gain and blah, blah, blah. And like that really did set me off to where it's like, you're saying you're a nonprofit. So that makes you altruistic. Like that's just not, that's not how nonprofits work at all. All. I mean, the NFL was a nonprofit up until 2014. While Goodell's making $50 million a year. Like, it doesn't mean anything.
Yeah. So the next meet that you compete in, will it be a USAPL meet or would it be something else?
No, USPA. USPA. But I will say I agree. The reason why I do not side with the IPF is their drug testing really is pathetic. And I've talked to some high level guys behind the scenes now after it happened, and they really believe in the IOC dream. And I'm just like, man, I don't know how you still believe in that.
No, it just feels like
I wish that would go away.
I know. So we can just move on already, right?
And a significant percentage of Olympians are broke, anyways. Like I don't think the dream is as romantic as people think.
Right.
Even with it being almost certainly never going to happen.
Right.
And
take away the fact that it's not going to happen.
For sure not going to happen. I think there's a better chance weightlifting and maybe even wrestling could get removed than powerlifting added.
Mm-hmm.
Like I saw the Olympics just added breakdancing. Like that is the way they're going to move because I don't think Tren helps your breakdancing. So
I don't know.
Yeah, watch them still be like juiced up on like super physiological levels of Adderall and stuff where you're like, God damn.
Yes. Anything is possible.
Yeah. But yeah, I just don't see how anything other than Sheffield makes sense. I think it all comes down to how powerful is SPD and does Sheffield actually happen and do drug tested lifters actually make like $50,000 or whatever the prize money is for winning.
Yeah,
I think that's the only way. But I think the USAPL to me sounds far more realistic that we're going to make it scalable in gradients. And that's how it has to happen. It has to be a concept that has some return on investment and gradually builds. It's just like anything. Like it's just like what we talked about with YouTube, where it's like you can't go into it thinking like I'm just going to drop a bomb and make a huge thing. To me, it makes far more sense to go, okay, does this have a backing? Okay, let's milk this a little bit more. Is this the way to go? No. Okay, let's not do that as much. to me, USAPL just seems smarter with it, even though they seem kind of unethical.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's good. It's good to get your take a little bit on that. But like I said, we probably could spend an actual hour grilling you on some of the finer details there. But that's good.
Yeah, maybe I need to come on again.
I mean,
well,
hopefully it's not going to take another 5.5 years.
Maybe it should, Tanner. Give us some more material.
That's true. We could build the thing up. You know, I am still a little sad about losing that as something we can run with. But could you say something bad about us in one of your videos or something like that, or just like leave us a snarky comment that we could get people excited about?
I have exactly what you need. What you need is Russ to come onto your thing and say he feels disrespected again about my profile picture.
Was he upset at you at all? Or,
was he actually upset?
He said on King of the Lifts, I feel disrespected, like utterly disrespected by Candito's display or something like that.
But you owned up to it when he won, right? I mean, you said you changed it to Russ won. I think that's
yeah, and the way he posted it, I thought he would find fun, but yeah, he did not answer DMs or anything after that. Like, it was
really?
I thought that was all kind of sort of a joke thing because
no, like,
it
was on my end.
Right.
It's a joke. I don't give a fuck. I think it's an internal battle on it.
Yeah, we need to somehow get in on that beef.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, we need to
so
stir this pot.
We can
just make something up that I said.
Oh, we do that all the time.
Candito said you're on steroids.
That would do it.
But it is funny, like and that connects to like what I was saying as far as like unintended people assuming you're saying something for an unintentional reason. Is like I am going to speak on the IPF USAPL thing, and I am going to say like IPF Worlds, in my opinion, is going to be far lamer than usual, and then I have to make sure that doesn't come across as like personal. If Russ does see it as serious, it really has nothing to do with it. But it's funny because I could see how maybe he would think that that's what I would be doing it for. And it would make sense from his perspective. But it's like, I really do think that's totally separate. And I overall, I have immense respect for people who, obviously influence the sport in a great way and they have a lot of power, being the top dog. But I just don't know why, if he takes it that personally, it's a little cringy to me, but it's whatever. But who of all people who can be upset is Sean, because I did gas it up and then it didn't work out.
He's like, thanks.
You did run the hype train for him there.
Yeah, that's one where I'm like, okay, yeah.
Is is there irony that the hamstring was actually the downfall for hamstring?
It's crazy. Like, because I remember even after, like, there are some people implying he faked it, stuff like that. Like, dude, it's just crazy. It's crazy when people assume stuff like that. Where, dude, I have literally seen people assume. Actually, he's a really interesting connection. Do you guys remember Josh Hancock?
Oh yeah, he was.
What's funny?
Canadian, right?
Yeah.
Even Brett Gibbs had that coaching together. Was it the gold medal coaching or whatever?
Okay.
Yeah. What's a really ironic twist is actually the CEO of my main sponsor of Jag Factory knows Josh Hancock, and he even texted me. He's like, "Oh yeah, you and Josh Hancock collabed, right?" And it's so weird that like the CEO of a company that sponsored Chris Bumstead at the time, our connection is Josh Hancock, who we collabed, obviously like 5 years ago. And I think it does go to show that, treating everybody with the utmost respect and just collaborating with people who are talented, like Josh at that time probably had 5,000 subscribers, right? Or less. And it's like amazing how that stuff can go such a long way. But yeah, what I was going to say is that what's crazy is he hurt his back and, he was like suicidal, he said at some points. And, honestly, when he said it initially, like I didn't fully get it, but then when you do hurt your back, like snap up enough, you're like, yeah, I get it. not that I would ever think that way, like fully. And even if I thought that way, I probably wouldn't even say it out loud. Like it definitely is a different level to like really say that on video about a back injury. But it's one of those things where when that happened, there were a lot of people who I know who were like, I think he said all that and did all that because he was cycling on and then he would have got caught. So he faked an injury. And I'm like, what? You guys think he would lie about a back injury that's like crippling him for a year and a half? And now he's fine, I've heard. but it's like, it is amazing the types of negative assumptions people have of you. And yeah, actually, okay, I want to give one more example because this stuff just like comes to mind. Is this is a great example of like why reputation is so important though. Is like, I remember when I moved down a weight class, I think I was too honest for people to like be ready for it. As I said, it's because John Hack's way better than me. So I'm moving down a weight class. Like, yeah, I'm not gonna be close to John Hack.
Well, and it's
So
like
I'm going
looking
to be
back, everyone's like, well, duh. Like, you know?
Yeah, now they're like, duh. But before, dude, I've had some people are like, bro, what happened? You were neck and neck with Gibbs and Hack. And I'm like, I was not. That's literally not true. Not even close. But what's funny is when that happened, I will never forget it because it was like one of those moments where you could choose evil or choose good, where there was someone saying how like afraid I was and about how like this is like a pussy move or something like that. And like, you're afraid of competition and you're moving down a weight class because you're scared of John Hack. And that's like not to be respected. And I'll never forget seeing his profile picture. And it's just this super fat kid with like a 295 deadlift. I just remember thinking like, dude, like I could just roast the shit out of you right now. Like, you are so much fatter than me, so much weaker than me, and talking to me this way. And it was one of those moments where if I did that, if you roast someone at all like that, you know, the insults are going to apply to more people than that person.
True.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, and I don't insult, fat people for being fat. So it's one of those things where but in the moment you can totally imagine how, if it was just man to man regularly in person, like maybe I would. I don't know.
Well, and those
But,
people don't say
Or
that
they
to you
wouldn't have
in
made the
first
comment
place,
in the first
then,
place in that situation. Yeah.
They would have said,
Right.
They would have said,
And it's like,
"Oh,
but
Jonnie
I've
Candito,
seen-
so cool to meet you."
Yeah.
Yeah. But I have seen other YouTubers do that, where they do roast the hell out of someone who's a troll. And I do think that's a bad move. Like, I think it negatively affects those guys, because if you start roasting, I mean, basically anything you make fun of someone for is going to apply to other people.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's going to make you look bad. It's like, it's just unprofessional. But it's amazing how many YouTubers did that. Like would go back and get personal with people who are personal to them. I think you just can't do that.
It's kind of a losing battle.
That
I mean,
is
it really is a
absolutely
lose-lose.
right.
It makes it's like Lane Norton, where he's like always mad. And he's
Well, I
just,
was kind of thinking of him as you were saying that, too.
it's just like, bro, like calm down and like
yeah.
stop. If you stop talking about being mad, you'll have less people mad at you.
Yeah, and now people know
the
that
cycle will break.
Yeah, people know they have that on you now forever. That I can make a negative comment and you're probably going to reply. So okay, yep, I know how to get to you
Exactly.
whenever I want.
Exactly. And people, I mean, I think that is the main thing, is like, to build things up correctly, it's like people respond to the attention you give. And if you give a lot of drama attention, if you complain about a lot of things, then they're going to complain about you, most likely. Whereas like if you help people, it is amazing how, I think since my channel's a little bit more informative, I've had so many people help me in very interesting ways and like really ready to either assist, or if someone has a gym in Chicago. Actually, I got a free session in from someone who has a gym in Chicago who manages it. He's 16 years old, and he said he started the 6-week program at the same time he got off drugs. And so he must have been addicted to like casual drugs, like not performance enhancement drugs. But he must have had a drug addiction problem, which I didn't ask him that much more about. But it's like amazing how when you give a little in a way that I would never expect that would happen, to where you help a 14 to 15-year-old with a drug problem get into a healthier lifestyle, like that to me is the biggest honor. That's probably the biggest compliment I've ever heard in my life. And then he's able to really show off his gym and has great bars and everything and let me lift for free. Like those types of moments are amazing. That's something I'm super
cool.
grateful for.
Yeah, it's really cool.
If you're ever in Western Northeast South Dakota, we'll let you lift for free at Massenomics Gym too. So got that in your back pocket.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Yeah, it is. It really is. Yeah, it's just awesome how powerlifting is it's like a big community, but a small community at the same time.
Yeah.
Where especially in person, where it's like the amount of people who actually go to powerlifting gyms and actually train hard is pretty small.
Mm-hmm.
True.
Yeah,
True. It is.
Yeah, especially the training hard part.
Yeah. Yes. That
Like, have you guys ever done that where you go to a powerlifting gym and you're like, damn, like you guys really, you have kilo plates and you're just not even working hard? like why not just
We're
go to
taking
normal
this all
gym
for
at that
granted. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Like, yeah, to me, it's that stuff is surprising, because I think that's something where I've had kind of, have you guys ever seen like the IQ bell curve meme, where it's like initially you think something simple, and then like that middle IQ crowd thinks the opposite,
and then once
it's like,
once you're
that's how I
smart
feel.
enough, then you realize that you again don't know, right? Isn't that the
or the simple answer ends up being the best
Right.
explanation just because we don't know those middle explanations,
right?
like they're not really certain. And I think that's exactly how I feel about just working hard in powerlifting. Like, it's initially you're just like, yeah, I'm stronger than people because I just work harder. And then you realize, like, oh no, there are like leverage differences, you know, what belt you use, genetics, and all that. And then as you go later on, you realize, like, no, it's just the people who work hard for literally a decade are like in the single digits for every city.
Yeah, true. Yeah. No, Jonnie, I think this is a really good episode. Is there anything we didn't cover that you feel like you want to get out there at all? While you have the captive Massenomics audience?
I got one more Jonnie Candito question.
Okay, yeah.
What?
Will Jonnie be caught on an airplane anytime soon?
No. No. Oh man, you know what's funny is you say that, and like right now I may end up being in a situation where I don't go somewhere specifically do that. Like, I was gonna have to drive 4 whole days because it'd be 2 days there, 2 days back, and I might just not go because the flight is not an option. But no way. But I'm thinking if there's anything. You know what's funny? Okay, I may do. I'll say this on here. I may actually do a bodybuilding competition in 2022. I think I will.
Okay.
Just to see what happens. Because I want to see on a local level show, there's not many people who lift for 17 years, I would imagine. I hope. Right. And I just want to see what happens. I just want to see, like, or do I just get completely embarrassed?
So what would your body weight be at where you compete in bodybuilding? How does that, how do you think that would shake out?
That's a great question. I definitely would not do the optimal route for sure. Like, that's something where I'm going to make the explicit decision that I'm not going to lower my testosterone and get erectile dysfunction for a plastic trophy.
Yep.
So I would not. I don't know if you guys ever saw Alberto Nunez at
3D
at Nationals.
Yeah.
Did you see him there was one time he did Nationals at the same 2-week period they did a bodybuilding show, and that man looked like he was halfway in the grave. Yeah. Like, he was walking out a squat and he looked and he basically said, he's like, yeah, I feel horrible. And it didn't go well. And so I never want to get to a point to where you lose gains at a point where you might not get it back. Mm-hmm. I mean, you really might not get it back if you go hardcore striated glutes. So I think 169. I think 169 for like a local level show. Nice. I could say 169. I think I'd be pretty lean, because right now I'm definitely getting like noticeably leaner at 182 instead of 189. And then I think as I get to like I think 175 is like right at that red line for walk around weight. And then 169, like dieting down and just living that lifestyle of just eating chicken and rice whatever they do.
Yeah. That's
what does that mean?
It.
Like,
you just eat chicken.
That's
and
all
rice.
you do.
Yeah, that's
eat chicken and rice and work out. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I think, I don't know if the lower body to upper body ratio would be a problem at that time. I mean, the pull-ups are working, the chin-ups.
Yeah.
They're doing their thing. So yeah, we'll see on that. But I definitely want to actually do a competition, because it's another one of those things where you're like, when you just want to see what happens, like I'm so curious for myself. I feel like it'd just make for a good video, because it'd be such an interesting thing to see happen just one time. And then after that, it's like, okay, I'm done.
Be interesting to see how the YouTube audience reacts to those, because there probably be some interesting videos there too go along with it.
Yeah, and that's exactly connecting to like our whole theme here, is that it's a matter of gradual experimentation. And it is ironic that I start out with bodybuilding being the easy money go-to, and then knowing I'm going to convert people with powerlifting, and then bodybuilding becomes the experimental, like, fun thing.
Right.
It's like the IQ curve. You just went through that again.
And it's similar to the chin up thing, where I'm actually going to have a guy on my channel who's a Russian. He was in the Russian military when we talked. It was like actively serving, and I'm like, wow, he's very responsive, and he knows of the 6-week program. I'm like, all right,
nice.
That's pretty awesome. And his chin up max is literally like 230 pounds, maybe 240. Yeah, we're talking. I mean, he's arguably the best in the world, I believe. Legitimate 100 kilo plus chin up with super strict, like, Russian standard form, like just all the way down, all the way up, pause at the top, referee, everything. So yeah, I think that just experimenting with things like that, with really, because I would love to get my chin up to like 175 or something like that, where you go, even if you're not familiar with powerlifting, you just go, wow, that's interesting. That's impressive. And so I think that the bodybuilding, the jumping, the powerlifting, that's the key, really, because then you have so many pools to kind of to reach from, and then the HDR. and you see, maybe I'll make an HDR video and I'll spend like, dude, I literally bought like a $250 software, DaVinci Resolve Studio, which is the only one where you can really master HDR properly. And it's just funny how it's like, I'm going to do all this and maybe I upload it and people just don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
It's possible. it's 100% possible, but it's 100% worth it to find out.
Yep. We'll be watching, Jonnie.
Make sure it's not an old iPhone.
Well, no guarantees there.
I did actually think about having an unlisted video for people without the nicer ones, people with SDR, and then just have it like be like some broke boy edition, and then just like some fart sound. And that's it. It's just a regular SDR video.
Yeah. Okay. No, we really appreciate you coming on here. Sad that this that saga
is,
finally,
I guess, is coming to an end
now.
now.
It's coming to
Wow.
close, but we'd love to be able to get you again on again.
Was it what you imagined?
I think it's everything and more.
Yeah, I'd say the same thing.
Yes. Yeah, it was it was great to be on. It's my third podcast I've ever been on out of all three. I would have to think out of all three where I'd rank them. This was definitely the most natural vibe, I'd say, especially since you guys know of my videos from 2013. Like that's what's funny is obviously Omar did,
right.
But when talking to guys like Angelo, it's funny how those guys really don't know who Josh Hancock is, don't know of the channel before maybe 2016 to even a lot of people find out about the channel like 2019, 2020 to a level that's surprising. It's like, wow. It's always proving yourself again and again.
Right. You start to be under the assumption that everyone's been around for like
7 years. If you were going to find this, you'd find it by now.
Yeah,
but
right.
also you
It's
forget new people are growing up every single day.
Well, I'll tell you what's interesting. It's analytically that shows that is I checked before the subscribers, and then usually it just shows net subscribers. But if you look at beyond net and you look at how many actually are subscribing and unsubscribing, it's interesting that there'll be days where it's like, okay, maybe you gain like 100 subscribers or whatever it is. And even if it's just 100 subscribers, it's really like 200 people unsubscribing and 300 people subscribing. Like it's way more of a turnover than I would think.
Yeah. Instagram's like that too. It's weird.
Yeah. And I think that's ultimately is the coolest thing is that it's like, I've had people who kind of imply that like, oh, if I just started early on, I'd be killing it too. And it's like, if you look at a lot of YouTubers from 2012 to 2013, a lot of them are not killing it now. Like it's an advantage in some ways, but in some ways it can be a disadvantage if you just don't have that many layers to peel back.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, there's so many, actually, do you remember, this will be the last thing I say. It's tangential, but this is how much of it's to YouTube. I will check Mike Chang's channel now. It's like, it's so funny how it's like a guy like that who was the superstar of 2012. He still does post, and it's like, dude, he's just gone down like some psychedelic route and just some like weird hippie thing. And he'll be like, literally he'll get like 700 views or something or less. And I'm just like, damn, it's just me here watching him deadlift.
There's nobody else anymore.
I will comment every now and then, like, what's up, Mike?
Yeah. That's funny.
Yeah.
No. Well, you're doing good work. Keep on keeping on.
Keep being Jonnie.
Yep.
Yeah, thank you. And maybe we'll meet in person. And if we don't, what's the timetable? What's the acceptable timetable for hype for the next one? For the next podcast? You're getting Russ on, right? You're getting Russ on.
Yeah, if we can build up some, we can probably shorten it if we can artificially inflate like some extra beef in there. It would really help us out if you would say something bad about us in a public forum.
Bad about you guys?
Yeah, those guys really sucked,
Yeah, how do you see what would be the worst insult for a podcast? Just like, because podcasts are so I don't know if what's the right word? Is ubiquitous the right word? They're kind of,
yeah.
Also, it's hard. It's probably like with us in particular, it might be hard to pierce our veil of really dissing us because we spend a decent amount of time
it's kind of our
making jokes at ourselves.
Yeah.
That like it's like, well, what
It's
is
the
somebody going
Eminem
to
8
say?
Mile style.
Yeah, what is somebody going to say that we haven't already said about ourselves? So
Maybe complimenting you would be then.
The old reverse
like, oh, there it
I
is.
don't
Yeah,
know how to
there-
handle that. Yeah, we don't.
They're so impactful, they can't even embrace it.
very impactful.
Yeah.
There you go. Like that's actually funny.
Yes. Good stuff. Thanks, Johnny. We appreciate it, though. Seriously.
Yeah,
Thanks a
thank you
lot.
for having me on, and make sure to.
Yeah.
Is there a like button on podcasts?
Oh, there's a subscribe button.
Subscribe. Yes.
Smash that subscribe button. Subscribe it for more Massenomics.
Yes. Perfect. All right. Awesome.
All
All
right.
right, peace out.
See
ya.
Hey, thank you for having me. Bye.
Well, Tommy
Cool beans.
made
Cool
it official
beans.
on the cool beans, didn't you?
Cool beans.
Should we hit an ad here
I
quick
think we should hit an ad.
to cool down? So you've got, who are you going to talk about? Are you going to talk about SPUD Inc? And
I'm going to.
want me to talk about hybrid first?
I think you
Okay,
should.
great. I was hoping you'd say that because I was actually just wanting to talk about hybrid. Hybrid performance method, that's who we're talking in. Right now I'm going to tell you about their nutrition, what they offer for nutrition. If you really want a shredded physique that performs as well as it looks, then combining hybrid training and nutrition is the answer to your prayers to the iron gods. It's like having the best strength and nutrition coaches at your fingertips. You get a personalized roadmap to Shredsville and a dedicated coach by your side when you work with the hybrid nutrition coach. So if you're ready to get seriously strong and seriously shredded, join Team Hybrid today. Visit them at hybridperformancemethod.com. Follow them at hybridperformancemethod.com and join the strongest team on the web today. We have a discount code with them. It'll work on this nutrition programming that I'm talking about, their training programming, or their courses app that they have. Our discount code is MASS. That'll save you 5% on any of those memberships for the life of those memberships.
Wow, Tanner, I really appreciate you telling me about them. I would like to share something with you now.
Oh, okay. This sounds organic.
This is organic, and this is brought to you also by SPUD Inc. and the Comfy Grip handles. The SPUD Inc. Comfy Grip handles are a blend of Tsunami Sports Comfort Grip handle and super durable SPUD Inc. straps. We combine their unique handles with a slightly longer strap to make them even more comfortable, but also to enhance the flex of the Comfort Grip handle itself. The handles flex more to comfort to the user's hand versus the hand adapting to the handle. This can increase performance and adapt to the user's mobility. It is also a fat grip, which can increase recruitment patterns. Gosh darn it, it just feels good in the hands, which is what SPUD always strives for.
That's what she said, too. That's what she always strives for.
That's right. And they do come in a pair, so, you get two of them.
Safety in numbers.
That's right. You can check out the SPUD Inc. Comfy Grip handles online at spud-inc-straps.com.
That's cool beans.
Wow, this is a long one.
We burned the midnight oil on this one, didn't we?
I didn't think we'd talk to Johnny for that long.
Johnny's got a lot to say, doesn't he?
I think he could have kept, we definitely could have kept going.
Oh, yeah.
But I think he could have kept going for a long time.
Oh, my God.
That is a 2.
Yeah.
That is a 2.
That's shocking.
Yeah. This might be our longest one ever.
I guess
actually.
that's why I'm so tired.
Yeah.
But that was well worth it. I am a little sad that the ride's over, but what's the old saying? Don't be sad that it's over. Be happy that you did it, or something like that.
Yeah. So, I hate to see you go, but I love to watch you leave. Is
With that honky tonk, but donk donk. Maybe that's Trace Adkins or something.
some mix of that?
Yeah. Good episode, Tommy. What else do we need to part people with here on this one?
Impactful.
Yeah, that's going to leave an impact with people.
People head on over to Massenomics.com. One, you can buy our stuff. That's pretty cool. But you can also go to Massenomics.com/join and get in on the Fire Discord, which keeps blowing up.
It really is. We're not just saying this as an advertising thing, although it works great as an advertising thing.
Yeah.
There's more people coming into the Discord like every day.
Yeah.
And it's just getting better and better.
It is. I kind of look for it's like I didn't really realize it at the time, but I'm basically signed up for another social network because my feed is full of new stuff all the time.
The problem is if you go too long without checking it, you almost can't even get back to where
Yeah.
things are. And then if you don't go back, then you don't know what it is people are talking about.
Yeah, that can happen, but not. We
Yeah.
don't want to say we're introducing more stress into people's lives.
No,
because
it's all
good,
fun.
but there's a lot happening there.
There's
so.
just some really fire Massenomics stuff. If you're a Massenomics fan, if you really enjoy the podcast, you listen almost every week, you're doing yourself a disservice by not getting in on that. And
Yeah.
I honestly believe that.
Yeah,
Like
you'll enter the chat with big whatever your name is,
Yes.
and you'll be greeted with open arms.
Yes.
And like literally,
There's usually a welcoming
It's kind of like
party
you
and-
entered a cult, and they'd be say, "Oh, we've been waiting for you. Here's your spot. We've
Yes.
saved it."
It
Yeah.
is a funny thing that we talked about with Johnny there, how you kind of forget that some people are just getting along for the ride more recently. That's true with us too. And even with these supporting members, I kind of take for granted, like these common names I see that have really vocal about supporting us have been in the Discord. I kind of assume they've always been listening. And then
Yeah.
when they talk, like specifically this week, there's a lot of conversation about when
Old
people
episodes
started
and stuff.
And like
Yeah.
that, like, yeah, I didn't start till episode 120 or like,
Yeah.
like Big Eddie, real good supporter of the podcast. He said, yeah, I jumped in on the Daniel McKim episode. And I'm like, what? I thought you've always been like, that was just like,
know.
I feel like we just did that episode.
And it's my brain goes both ways on this because
Yeah.
it's so insane to me to think that someone has been following us since day one.
True.
Like that is why.
When also nobody was following on day
Yeah,
one. So.
or I should say, it's insane to me that someone would have listened to every episode. Like
Right.
that is insane. But it also is crazy to me to be like, oh yeah, no, I hopped in 100 episodes ago. Like it's like, well, but what about everything before that? You don't
Yeah.
know what we're talking about here.
Right.
But the show has changed a lot, and yeah, it's a living, breathing thing. So I'm just happy anyone's along for the ride.
That's true. We don't know why they are, but we're happy that they're there.
But there's a few of them.
I did have one surprise overrated, underrated for you that I wanted to get out.
Oh.
Okay. Overrated or underrated, the song Clint Eastwood by the Gorillaz.
This is
And why did it sound like you aren't surprised I asked you that?
well because the Gorillaz have popped into my life fairly recently because I don't know why. For the first time ever on my Spotify, like ever in my life, probably a week or two ago, I listened to the Gorillaz for probably
Okay.
like 5 hours in one
Oh,
day,
well, I
which is
didn't know
really
that.
bizarre.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, you definitely didn't know that because I didn't tell
Yeah.
anyone. And it's also funny because while on the way to podcast, I told you not to come to my house
Yeah.
right on time because we were out for dinner. While we
Were
were
you
driving,
listening to the radio?
I was listening to the radio, and
What
they
were
said,
you listening to? Like
whatever
local radio?
Yeah.
Okay,
And they,
yeah,
and
that's
they said
yeah.
a Paramore song was playing, which is kind of funny because that's kind of a throwback song.
Yeah.
And then they said, coming up next, we have a throwback with the Gorillaz and something else. I'm like, you just played Paramore. You already played the throwback. So this is a conversation I'm having in my head.
Yeah.
So I'm hearing the Gorillaz again. And then you bring them up. It's kind of funny.
Well, it's because I heard that on the way
Okay, so
over
that
here.
timing makes sense.
Yeah,
then.
and as when it popped on, I'm like, that always was an interesting song.
Dude, it's a banger though. It's a good song.
Mm-hmm.
I think so. What was it? Was it the song? Is that what you
so
asked
you
me?
could say the Gorillaz, or
I
was saying the
honestly
song.
don't know enough of the Gorillaz
I was saying the
discography.
song, so,
Yeah,
okay.
I still think that song's under. I think now there's probably a lot of people that don't know what that song is,
Right.
Because it kind of. I mean, it was definitely a popular song. It was in the top 40.
I like that laughing that's in.
Yeah,
that's
the way
in
they
there.
loop that in
Yeah.
and sample that whole thing. Yeah, it's good, but it's got a good bass line to it,
Yeah.
and it's kind of funky, and it's cool,
It is funky.
and it's kind of got that like undercover, like keeping it cool, like
Yeah.
low down vibe to it. But it's an underrated song, and I do think there's probably a fair amount of people that nowadays have probably, like, younger people have probably never heard it.
Truth.
Or if they have no idea who it's by.
Right. Yeah, I saw it pop up, and I'm like, I feel like this is something I knew existed and enjoyed, and completely forgot of its existence, and here it is back.
Mhm. Yeah, I think they were on. I could have swore maybe the reason that they even popped into my life again was because they're on like a commercial.
Okay.
What's that? You got the cool shoe shine. However that one goes, it's like, oh, yeah, it's kind of a fun song too that they have.
That seems like it's on a lot of commercials for some reason.
It's just like, yeah, this is a cool, funky background song, I guess.
That reminds me of like women's lady razors.
Yeah, like, in my mind, I was thinking, that was on a women's commercial. So probably wasn't, but that's just what comes to mind. Yeah,
like a pink chic razor.
Yeah. The Gorillas. Yeah. I'd even say underrated on the Gorillas.
Okay.
Too. Yeah.
All right. Well, I think that's about going to wrap us up for this 2 hour and 15-minute episode.
Baby.
Tommy, where do they? You can find us in Kansas City. Actually, this doesn't apply to this.
It doesn't apply
you
anymore.
can find us on the way back from Kansas City right now as you're listening to this. Tommy, where do they find you?
You can find me at Tomahawk_D.
You can follow me at Tanner_Bear. Just make sure to follow Massenomics at Massenomics.
See ya.